Joshua L. Harris, how are you?
Doing great. How about yourself, Mr. Royce?
I'm good. Nice to see you. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been, I think the last time that we talked was maybe like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 months ago, maybe. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and there's stuff to update on those lines, but we'll
Yeah.
get there. There's a lot going on. How you been?
Doing good. It's just like dramatic changes everywhere around. Everything moved. Had tons of things happening. Had a huge non-political campaign that blew up in my face. Came out of it on the other side, actually a little bit better off myself. I can't say the same for the thing that I was campaigning for, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But other than that, just pretty good, very good.
But now I want to respond to that, but I'll be a professional and I'll save that for later.
Yeah, we'll bank that. That'll be a callback. There you go.
Yeah. We'll bury the good stuff later in the show and make people have to engage.
Exactly.
Because it's D23 day. So much to talk about. Not really.
Yeah, well, for most of the time, it's like no news is good news when it comes to D23. And so many people, I think basically YouTubers that depend on Disney for content are clamoring. It's just like, why won't you announce something? I'm like, do you really want to announce anything right now? Think about that. So
no,
it's all kind of crazy. No. Yeah, and I'm like, no, just go in there. Just like, okay, we're going to do this fun thing. I mean, I saw that Jody Benson is the new official ambassador for D23, and she's amazing. Actually met her once. I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. That's great. Awesome. Yeah, stick to that kind of fluffy stuff. Don't tell me that you're going to destroy another park.
No, save that for Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, the announcement.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But, okay, so the one thing that I heard even prior to today was they're outsourcing the animation for the Monsters, Inc. land?
Yeah, so you're going to infuse a Pixar IP into another park yet again, but you're not actually going to use Pixar for it.
I don't get it.
That's what you're going to do. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me either. Although I know that they have enormous trouble over there right now as it is. So maybe Pixar at this particular point just isn't competent enough to do this project, which sounds horrible, but it's kind of the truth. I mean, if you look at their current track record, they're not doing too well. So,
well, they're not innovating. I don't even know what it is that I saw, but it was some clip for something, and I'm like, this is not what Pixar was doing. Pixar was giving you the experience of what it was like to be a bug, what it was like if a toy came to life, and all of these perspectives. And then when they lean into all the human stuff, sort of post-Wall-E, it just sort of has become a whole different brand. And I question how much stuff they've been outsourcing all along. It looks to me like Pixar has been reduced down to a tile on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's also like, I've thought for a decade plus now that Pixar is by definition overrated. It's also something that's kind of hysterical to me because they were established, and you can see in every single behind the scenes documentary, especially with John Lasseter and everything, that they really, really hated the Disney formula. So they were going to do something that was different than the Disney formula, and yet they have become an extraordinarily formulaic studio. It's almost everything is extraordinarily modern, up-to-date issues, and it's done. It's just like what if toys had feelings? What if bugs had feelings? What if fish had feelings? What if feelings had feelings? The whole entire way through. So and then also their sequel count is exorbitantly high, which I understand that. I mean, it's also like an interesting conversation that you could have so far as like what the CG medium is, because if you want to liken it to anything else, I mean, they're using puppets. It's digital puppets, so they could just bring out the puppet again and then go ahead and repose it. Of course, there's a lot of production design and everything that they infuse into it. But you when you're doing a sequel, like over half of the production design and all the modeling and everything is already taken care of for you. So you're really going in with, like, you could roughly say about 45% of your expenditures already taken care of. But at the same time, it's just like you're not really creating anything new. The sequel has to live up to the original, which almost never happens. So you have all of these you have all of these pitfalls that are there that most of the time the executives think that are positives, but they're actually negatives. And also it kind of destroys your brand reputation as well if you're doing this many sequels all the way through. I mean, because I did a calculation late last year where if you look at the output of the Walt Disney Studios as opposed to the Pixar Studios, and you just pick the same exact number that they're both on, there was only, by this time in Disney Studios one, you're basically around the 1970s, so from 37 to 1970s. They only did one. I think it's just one sequel the entire way through.
But and Pixar was acquired for sequels. I mean, don't you agree with that notion?
That's an interesting point. I just recently found this out because I've always been fascinated by the downfall / cooing of Eisner. And that was actually one of the bones of contention. That's the reason why he wasn't going to make the sale, is because they were trying to pass off their sequels as original content, because they were supposed to, they were contractually obligated to Disney to give them 5 original films as part of their distribution deal. They were trying to say that that Toy Story 2 was one of them. And that was like, no, you're not going to do this. No, we want 5 original films. And it makes sense for that too, because then you talk about just the, like the product marketing and everything. I mean, you can't, we're not going to sell any more Woodies for two films as opposed to one.
But there's a corporate synergy and something that runs so much deeper than Toy Story, and the relationship between the companies and actually what's going on behind the scenes during all this time. So when you get to the point that Eisner is basically being taken out, and you get to the point that Pixar is responsible for every hit Disney is having, and there's a battle over the sequels and the whole direct-to-video of it all, and there's the whole push and pull of let's start making these Toy Story sequels direct-to-video. Was it Toy Story or whichever franchise it may have been? I think it was Toy Story. They wanted to make. Well, yeah,
because Toy Story 2 was supposed to be direct to video. Yeah.
So that whole battle, and then along comes Bob, and he starts talking to Steve, and he realizes, like, I need to save this relationship. I mean, he realized that before he started talking to Steve. He's very open in his book about how he manipulated Steve Jobs to get what he needed. I mean, he's very I'm assuming you've read Bob Iger's book, right, of a Lifetime. You haven't? Mr. Historian.
There's only one analogy that I can give, and it's going to give me in a lot of trouble.
What is it, Mein Kampf?
Yeah.
How do I know you so well?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I can't read Bob Iger's biography the same way that Jewish people don't want to read Mein Kampf.
Oh.
So
I'm not saying it's on the bookshelf, but I do have Dianetics back there somewhere.
Yeah, right.
It's true. I've never read it, but I was like, just in case one day I'm curious, I have Dianetics.
Yeah, but no, I've had other people read passages for me.
Yeah,
and I've watched several. I've watched several videos where they've had citations and everything else about it. So I know a lot. I know a lot more about it than most
I didn't read the book. Just stop it. I didn't read the book, because everything else doesn't mean anything. And I'm giving you a hard time because I know I can. But I actually have read the book. And he is very transparent about when he walked into the parks and saw, oh my God, that I need to solve this problem. And he realized that the way to do it was through Steve Jobs, of course, because of Steve and Pixar and the blood between Apple and all that. But that's why he started with the whole iPod TV thing, iPod video deal. I think it was Desperate Housewives, whatever it was. He was trying to forge a relationship, and he was trying to show Steve Jobs that that Disney could do deals easily, and that it didn't have to be mired in red tape. So there was this overt manipulation on Bob Iger's part. Now, listen, that's how relationships are built. That's the way the world works.
Yeah.
But he wears it a little bit too much on his sleeve, I think. So all that to say is that Bob Iger sees Pixar as a sequel factory from day one. By his own words. Because everything in the parks when he took over was a Pixar character. And the whole crux of the friction, as you know, was based off of sequels. So I just operate under that and go, well, they've gone from they can only do sequels and they can only do human animated puppets, to use your terms, because that's what those are. It's just a new story with the same animated characters reskinned.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and they're not good stories.
No. Well, I mean, everything is of the now, and it's all done in this milieu of West Coast of a West Coast ethos now. That used to be that when you're talking about something like Finding Nemo, which is basically like a helicopter parent story, or any of those other things, you're dealing with more universal. I mean, like, although current topics, nevertheless, something that can be adapted to all audience everywhere. But now they're so mired in. Let's just call it West Coast thinking that they're not able to relate to anyone else in the nation, let alone the planet.
I think you look at those early Pixar films, almost like an Aesop fable, and you look at like Bugs Life and even Ratatouille, because you got to a point there, they started to bring humans into it, but it was still, what if a rat could cook?
Yeah.
But so you look at these early Finding Nemo, they're like these fables. I mean, that those first few movies are art. They are absolute masterpieces. And then everything just became, what if we took a CalArts short and made it a feature? Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Yeah. That's what happened. And you're like, these should not be features.
Yeah, well, they're I would say that they're kind of like a half premise with it, and they're not really, going deep down into it and everything. I know that Pete Docter consults psychologists on occasion, but I don't think that he goes deep enough, and I don't think that he cross-references himself enough. I think that he goes to the people that he wants to hear something from,
right?
Which you can say about most people, but
especially in Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it's not. I mean, like, everyone lives in, at some point or another, an echo chamber, and you should fight your way out of that. But they seem very happy inside their echo chamber and do not want to go outside of that chamber in so much as a centimeter. So it's just like, yeah, that's what you're going to do with that. And then they're constantly regurgitating the same exact themes all the way through. I had enormous problems with something like, and I got into a lot of hot water over this until everyone actually watched the movie, and then they started to agree with me in a different way, was the movie Soul, because they're
say that too.
Yeah, really? Okay, yeah, because I'm like, good God, I got I stupidly watched it the Christmas Eve that it came out. I assumed that everybody else was somewhere else doing anything, but it was, I think it was during the pandemic, and I'm just like, I've got nothing else better to do. I'll go ahead and I'll watch it. It's got jazz in it and everything. It should be pretty interesting. And we're talking about a guy dying, and there's the afterlife. All these really cool, fun things that Joshua likes. But you watch the film, and it is a very what its entire thesis is that life is worth living, but the way that they convey that is so inept and so weak. And then at the end, it's anticlimactic. I mean, I can't remember the main character's name right now, but he gets his dream of playing in a jazz ensemble, and then he's just like, this was it. This is what my whole life was about. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I have not seen Soul, and I don't know anyone who's told me anything about it. No one's repeated anything back to me, unlike you in the book.
Yeah,
I have no knowledge of Soul, but this is what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
could have been a live action movie. So why is it a premise for a Pixar film? That should be your first litmus test.
Right. Well, that goes with an old Walt Disney concept. It's just like, you do not do in animation what you can do in live action. That is a fundamental principle of not just Disney animation, but really, I think it's a fundamental principle of animation in total, is that you don't do the same thing that you do in live action. So, and they've been failing on that a lot lately. It's just like, okay, well, then just become a live action studio. I mean, like, I know that you were trying to do that. Remember when they did WALL-E, and they had Fred Willard that was doing the doing a couple of scenes in there, and they said, "Oh no, we're going to get into live action now," and then nothing happened after
But
that.
that didn't even make sense in the story. Why is he? Are you telling me that everybody in WALL-E was live action until the third act? They got so fat they're animated now? Because that's what I took away from it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little too inconsistent. It's just like, okay, yeah, you're putting a live action piece inside of an animated thing.
It never made sense.
Yeah, no.
What do you? But what was the message in that? Was he supposed to be human and everybody else was not?
Well, I think that it was just. I would tend to think that they just ran out of time or budget or something, and they didn't want to animate a not because. In fact, my favorite Pixar film is Incredibles 2. And then Incredibles is after that. So they didn't want to do that kind of style of animation.
You could say Incredibles 2 and Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Right. Love Elastigirl and Baby Jack Jack. So that second one was right up my alley. But
spoilers, please.
Yeah. But yeah. So they probably didn't want to do that particular animation style for it, and they wanted to do something that was a little bit more serious, and just like, oh well, forget it. We'll just go ahead and we'll just do it with a live action person and everything. So
it doesn't even make sense. That's like as bad as There Will Be Blood when they cast Paul Dano as the other part because the other actor bailed, and then the whole movie you're like, what is the meaning of this one actor playing these two very different roles? And then you realize they just needed somebody to fill the part at the last minute. And I'm like, no, so to me, they were trying to say something. And if they weren't, that's not good. But I would think WALL-E was after Ratatouille, right? Or no? They're close.
I think it was before it.
Before, and then, so those are the last two. Those are the last two of the era.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, like, and then it just became essentially a sequel factory and everything. Although the other thing that would be a pretty interesting point of discussion is that, they have produced some original films that have been doing very, very poorly, and then you see sort of a low resolution take on that, mostly by the Twitter X Disney Twitter sphere, which is just like, okay, we just like, well, look at this. Okay, you have to support this movie because it's original. Because we all said that we don't want sequels. It's just like I still want a good film. I still want a good film.
Too many people have opinions, number one. Okay?
Right.
Too many people have opinions, number one. And too many people don't have the information required to make most of the opinions that they're making. You don't even see on my Twitter profile that I'm a former cast member and a ride technician. Do you know how many comments I could comment on and just waste my energy telling people they're wrong, and I just scroll right past it?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to waste my energy, and I'm just shaking my head.
Yeah, I never put down that I was a Walt Disney World cast member on mine. I never had any desire to.
But you still do the whole, and I gotta bust your balls, dude. But you do the whole historian thing, and I'm like, I don't even, like, in many ways, you could probably call me a historian for a lot of the shit I know, but I don't want to call myself a historian. I don't want that kind of pressure. But I know a lot of shit, but I don't need the labels. I don't even want the listeners and I don't even know why we're doing this podcast because I don't want anyone to listen to it. Yeah. But my biggest thought on Monsters Inc. Land and subbing out the animation, and this is how much of a geek I am, is I'm like, oh my God, Sully's fur is going to be smoothed over. You're not going to have the detail. It's not going to look like Sully from Pixar's Monsters Inc. It's going to be a smoothed down Sully.
Because it's going to save on render time, and they're not going to have to do anything with it and everything. And you're really only going to fly by whatever it is, or it's going to be some sort of queue projection in the offices and everything. So you're really not. You really don't need to pay attention to everything. I mean, it's not like you're building this theme park where you're going to need to where you're supposed to quote the great Tony Baxter. It's not like you're going to have like the 20th ride on this. No, it's just going to be a one and done, right? I mean, like, who cares? Who cares about the quality of these things? Who cares about actually paying attention to the details?
It's a 15-year land anyway. It's built to be gone in 15 years.
Yeah, so, like, who cares about that? It's just like, which is totally, it's just like I'm saying that extraordinarily satirically.
Thank you for clarifying. I didn't pick up on any of it.
Yeah, right. It's for the people who would clip this or something.
Somebody clip this shit out because we're going to say some shit later, and then clip it out, and then get all upset about it because you see people doing that on all these other platforms. Get very upset, prepared to get upset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Start screen recording.
Yeah, but you're supposed. You are supposed to make these for longevity. And the other thing that I have a
podcast. What are we talking about now?
No, the attraction. Sorry, back to attraction. Is that the thing that's very enormously unpopular for people to hear is that like these and especially this is one of the things that Bob Chapek came into the parks with an enormous chip on his shoulder saying just like it takes you guys so long to make something. Well, the reason why it takes so long is because it's supposed to last forever.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Forever.
It's all show business. It's all
because and that's the thing though is that they're trying to put a motion picture production model onto concrete and steel. It doesn't work that way.
That's okay in principle.
Well, here's the reason why it's not okay.
We're getting really in the woods here because we're talking about textures now. We're like going to have a conversation about stucco. Go.
Yeah, no. But here's the problem though is that you don't have with the amount of space that you have to deal with because Walt Disney World really doesn't have the blessing of size anymore because you have to look at you have to look at the way in which they
don't count the stuff we're not using because we're not using it.
What? Say it again.
Don't count the stuff we're not going to use because we're not going to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Because partially the reason why is because of the labor market. Another one is because of the cost of it. And also, even if those things weren't a factor, even if you were dealing with like the glorious 80s and 90s of all this stuff, you can't expect this person to traverse an 800-acre theme park in a day.
Why not?
That's ridiculous.
Maybe we wouldn't all look like the third act of WALL-E if we did a little more walking.
Well, I mean, we can do that with the one with the spies and they have now, but still, it's just it's also not sustainable.
Excuse me, the former CFO of Walt Disney Company, of the Walt Disney Company, said on an earnings call that the guests need to lessen their waist size. Okay, so Disney does believe that their guests are overweight. Their words, not mine.
Yes. Correct. Yeah, exactly.
So
and they also cut her out because she was part of the fat too. So
I think the consumers at Disney are taking the concept of blessing of size in the wrong direction.
Yes. Yeah, we can say that. Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think I what you're throwing down. Yeah.
Don't mind me. Continue your thoughts.
But yeah, so it's not going to it can't be a sustainable market. I mean, like you're supposed to. I mean, like. I say the words forever, but really, ideally, you would want to have something that would last for. I mean, almost every single thing that it goes inside of a theme park should last for a bare minimum 30 years.
Right.
And the problem with that is that, it's not the problem that people have with it is that it doesn't fit into the motion picture structure where it's just like, okay, yeah, we need something new to promote every single time, new something to promote. Yet for all of the hatred and the controversy and everything else that has gone on around Disneyland Paris, Disneyland Paris has just the park, the one that people actually go to, not the studios thing that they're renaming, but the Disneyland park there that hasn't received almost any upgrades in like 20 to 30 years.
What hatred? Are these French people? What hatred?
Well, no, I mean like just in the because of the way in which its history was that it wasn't immediately successful.
I know the whole Euro Disney of it all. No,
exactly.
I've read the books.
Yeah, exactly. So, but here's the thing, though. They didn't do that much to it in the past so many decades that they have there, and it still ends up being the number one attraction in Europe.
But that's business. That's business, and in many ways, you have to give credit where credit is due because Iger brought that all the way forward. I mean, take it for what it's. I mean, the company is still figuring out Euro Disney with that second gate.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can't figure out what to do with a second gate over there. And so they're doing this Adventure World thing, which was the stupidest name on
That's
the planet.
That's the future of the parks, man. You know that.
It
Everything's
is, yeah.
going to be Mickey Mouse Avenue. It's Main Street's going to go away.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, because it's all Rivers of America. You damn kids.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because
Your fault.
no one
You're
picked it up.
ineffective. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
right. Yeah, I tried, but that's
No,
just
you
the
didn't
way it
try hard
is.
enough.
Yeah, so, but yeah,
Problem's
so
not you. The problem is nobody fucking listens. Okay?
no,
Nobody
no,
listens, and they're
no.
stupid.
Yeah.
Continue.
Well, I mean, it's also like it's the whole entire thing. Like people talk about like things involving the national debt and everything else. But it's just like, okay, yeah, we've got this huge problem that's going to happen in like a decade from now or
Yeah.
5 years from now, and people are like, oh, okay, I don't care. But I'm just like, well, you do realize that you're destroying the Magic Kingdom, and you're not going to have any kind
But I
of
realize
royalty
you were,
and everything for that. So.
and I apologize. I don't mean to keep stepping on you. You've got me energized. I haven't talked to you in a while.
That's fine. That's okay. Let's go. Yeah.
We traverse a lot.
Yeah.
But the problem I have with you, again, is you make too much sense. And I was right there with you the best that I could, and even offline I'm going to talk to you about some of this stuff. But you're trying to give theme park consumers a lesson in business.
Mm-hmm.
And now I realize you can't give these morons a lesson in business. Most of these people have opinions, again, on things they've never even been to. So,
right.
The people that would have been, I don't think it would have still necessarily been received, but it's the shareholders and the board that need to have a better understanding of what you are saying. And if they don't want to hear it,
that's the reason why I said it that way. Because my whole entire stint with that campaign is I tried to, as much as possible, even though it was part of like the tagline and the instructions about what to do, I tried to keep Walt out of it. I tried to keep Legacy out of it. I tried to keep a lot of the historical basis of it out of it. And the reason why I did that is because it's like arguing for arguing for the existence of God using the Bible.
Right.
I was just like, no, you if you want to argue the existence of God, you use science now. You use the probabilities, you use the fine-tuning principle, you do all of those things for it, because the people that you're wanting to convert don't care about what's in the Bible. At the same time, they don't care. At the same time, the people that need to understand the catastrophic actions that you're taking with this theme park, which is the anchor of your greatest resort, which is the linchpin of your entire empire, that you can't use like, oh, but Walt said this and everything. It was just, well, Walt's dead, Joshua. Walt's dead.
I'm just smirking because you unironically compared Walt to a deity.
Yeah.
Let that not be lost on those who were watching their kids or washing their dishes and only half listening, because that's the problem.
Yeah, and I don't consider him a deity and everything. My thing about it is that I've been struggling to figure out exactly how to articulate this. But we need to have a fun. We need to look at Walt in a completely different way, and also in like any kind of discourse. Because first of all, the company uses his quotes like they were quoting scripture, and most of the time it's blasphemous because they're using things they're using quotes of his that are done for the things that he would completely and fundamentally disagree with.
But that's what everybody does now. Everybody uses Walt's perspective for their argument, and again, most people haven't studied Walt.
Right, okay? Exactly, yeah.
Walt was an advocate of change. Walt was a disruptor, and Walt tired easily, okay? So, it's not so much that things are changing, it's the choices that are being made and how they fit into an overall business. And I don't think Walt would even have perspective on some of those things, just philosophically speaking, because he never saw the company get to that point, and he never intended the company to get to that point. Disney World was supposed to be Progress City, was supposed to basically have a small theme park and be a large complex that would be the city of tomorrow. And that was supposed to be a development ground for new technology, transportation, and companies to basically showcase their new tech in a perpetual World's Fair. So Walt wouldn't have an opinion on any of this stuff. But so you kept Walt out of that, but it didn't matter. Because everybody who you're talking to has a pre-baked in idea of what is or what isn't. And they'll argue and they'll politicize it, whatever it is.
Right.
At the end of the day, the thing
and that's the thing that I tried to keep out too, because a lot of people were just like, Disney's gone woke and everything. I'm like, no. I don't want to hear any of this politics stuff, because it doesn't. I'm like, it goes nowhere. It doesn't mean anything. Right. And also the big point about it is, and the greatest reason why I didn't include it is because if you include that in there, you've already lost the argument.
Sure.
You've already lost, because if you say it's just like, well, that's just because Bob Iger hates America, which he kind of does. But but who cares then? Because if he hates America, okay, then blow up the whole entire parks.
I don't think Bob Iger hates America, but I don't think he understands
America. He loves
America.
China a lot more than America, but that's...
A lot of people love China a lot more. Gavin Newsom loves China a lot more than America. A lot of people love President Xi. In many ways, if I was getting some of that money, I would have nothing but great things to say about President Xi. I'm not, so F him.
Yeah.
But you know what? If he wants to cut me a check, I love the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Love him. But here's the thing that you said that made me, I understood already, but it's made me believe in you when you said it the way, what you started to break down was the impact on the operation, and how over time what happens is you get less hours in Animal Kingdom, and then you get less hours over here, and you're already seeing these things happening. As more of these DVC towers go up, okay, the park hours will continue to go down. Your main park, your Magic Kingdom, will stay open late, sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, but this is already happening. And I don't know if Saving the River would have stopped it, but I think with the messaging that you were putting out, and maybe people were transposing their own political messaging on top of it, but what you were trying to put out was, hey, from like an investor perspective, you guys are shooting yourself in the foot by gutting this, and here's why. And it made perfect sense. It's not just about thematic integrity. Okay, it's about operations, and there is an operational problem to solve there with the island. Okay, so they did have to do something. Okay, but the decision to completely eradicate something in a destination tied to nostalgia, okay, and the way that has a domino effect that will basically destroy the brand. Okay, it makes perfect sense to anybody that understands that. Anybody who fancies themselves a historian would understand.
Yeah,
I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek because I don't fancy myself a historian, but maybe I should be.
Yeah.
But the problem that I see is they don't give a fuck. They don't care that and I'm talking about the people. Well,
they don't care. They don't care the fact that and what you're saying to go to that point is that they are at the point now where it's just like, okay, look, I'm leaving in 5 years. I don't care. I mean, I might even leave quicker if they would just go ahead and give me like golden parachute. I'm going to go.
Jeff Volley, but I'm and we'll get to that. But what I'm saying is, when you're talking about like Adventureland, like Disney Adventure Park, whatever the hell they're going to call it, that's what they see as the future. Yeah, they want to get people who want to come in, do the rides. They don't care about thematic integrity. They don't care about the park, the core principles of what a Disney park is supposed to be, and they don't have any understanding of the founder. And I think Disney wants to appeal to that customer moving forward, and they want to shed their Disney adults.
Yes, they definitely want to shed that. They want to share it. Anybody that has the brand loyalty. I think that, like if you really want to, they would never verbalize it like this, but it's really that they want to get rid of people who understand the standards that you had beforehand, because it's profoundly annoying to them. And it's expensive. It's just like, look, okay, I can see, like, if you were having like a thing where you like had a context visor in front of you when you were listening to these conversations, where like you don't put on errors, you don't try to flower up their language and everything. They're like, look, we're never going to create another Haunted Mansion again. We don't have the Imagineers. We don't have any of those things that are going to be able to do that. They don't have the imagination. Yeah, we don't have the imagination for that. We don't want to have the imagination for that. All we want to do is we want to create one movie. Just one movie. And we want to take that through the flywheel, and we want to go ahead and spin that off into every single one of our divisions, because that's the minimum amount of creativity that we need to go for. And then we're going to expand that out, and then we're going to sequel that out so that we don't have to create actually anything. Because most of the time when you're dealing with these things, you're dealing with executives that are entirely I mean, if you want to be an MBA, that's fine. You can be an MBA and you can still have an artistic mindset. You can still have an artistic integrity with it. But these people have none of that.
No, it's creativity by injection, because what you just described is literally just put it into the machine and flush it out the other side. Yeah,
and they think that formula is going to work the entire way. It's already failing.
That's what Avengers Campus is, by the way. I mean, Avengers Campus is built to become a completely non-Marvel land when it's done.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean,
look at it; it's all smooth,
so nondescript too.
What's that?
And it's so nondescript, and there's no soul in it, and it's all concrete. There's barely a tree there. I mean, like I think that the Spider-Man experience, like its marquee looks like a Target store for people. I mean, it's just like there's and that's part of the Ginslerification of Imagineering.
That's not just Disney. That's the country and beyond. Which gets me right to Cracker Barrel. I'm not going to miss the segue. Okay.
Okay.
So, first of all, people have their priorities all out of whack. Like, who gives a shit about Cracker Barrel?
No one.
Thank you. Yeah. And then I'm going to let you go, because I know you're like front loaded on this one, but like, then for Cracker Barrel to cave sets such a dangerous precedent. And I know that's antithetical to like protesting on the rivers of America and all of this, but I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, because they should have not caved in that particular situation.
So, first of all, I mean, like, and I'm going to be cribbing a little bit of Paul Chateau. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He used to be a network executive in Canada and everything, comedian, tons of jobs that he's had and everything. Truly insightful guy. So I'm going to be ripping off some of his thoughts about this. Cracker Barrel does have enormous problems with its business right now. They have horrible service. They have horrible food. They're not able to meet the times with everything. But that's all operational stuff. Now, when you get into, but they of course do not want to address those issues, because those are not low hanging fruit. They want to say, okay, well then what is it? And what do we hear all the time when anyone like a political party or anyone else that loses on anything, they're always just like, oh no, it was our marketing, it was our messaging, it was our brand. It's just like, no, it was your fundamental principle that we absolutely hated. It had nothing to do with, your branding, your marketing was spot on. It was exactly what you think. It was exactly what you believe. And that's it. Well, same thing with Cracker Barrel. They're just like, maybe it's a problem with branding. Maybe we just need to lighten things up. Maybe we need to do this or that. So they end up doing it. They end up changing the logo and their interior design. And I should say this, and this gets me into trouble with some people and everything. I am not. I am the. I don't really care about the rustic stuff. Okay, I'm a futurist. I'm a sophisticate, unabashedly, and everything. To say, it's just
you're a moderate.
Yeah, you can say that.
Sorry.
But also, it's just like I don't care. Okay, I don't like Cracker Barrel at all.
Nobody
does. Family does, but I can't stand it.
No,
but
I'd rather go to Denny's. Denny's.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't stand, and their seats are uncomfortable, and I hate their maple syrup, and there's not really much about it that I care for.
Actually, I'd rather go to IHOP, but I don't really want to go to any of these places.
Yeah, it's fine, but and also it's a restaurant chain, so. They want to do this, and then they go ahead and they change the interior design. They change the logo, which is the low hanging fruit, and they think that that's going to solve all of their problems. I actually think that the new logo works fine. because you have to make it adaptable to different things. I mean, I'm supposed to be primarily a graphic designer, not a historian, not anything else. So I'm just like, no, I've actually the logo was fine. I mean, it could use a little bit more.
But you also understand why that needs to happen. Like, you understand the world we're living in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I would say that the change in their interior design was definitely wrong. I mean, like that. I'm like, so what you should have done is they should have said, no, we're going to keep the new logo, but we hear you about the interior design. We're going to keep the rustic thing, which is what you like anyway.
So I legit, and I'm not just saying this because we're talking a lot of Disney. I thought it was the inside of Olivia's when I saw the new retheme, and that's not a good thing. Because Olivia's is themed to be a very specific thing, which is not Cracker Barrel.
No, not at all.
Okay, and it's very surface. And Cracker Barrel was supposed to have that rustic thing. And I have been in a Cracker Barrel in the last few years. Never been a fan. Never really cared for it, other than the cheese. I love the pink or orange cheese that comes with the nuts all over it and the roll. Like, I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care for Cracker Barrel just because I don't care for the food.
Right.
And my whole thing is, what are you in the business for? You're in the business to sell food.
Yeah.
So how do you think that changing the interior design of your restaurants is going to matter if you don't get people in the door who want to try your food?
Right. So, they approached it in a very backwards way,
right?
With that, and it doesn't really. And the thing that actually just fundamentally incensed me about this is that I don't mind the whole entire thing. In fact, I welcome it with any corporation. It's just like, okay, fine. If you can cudgel them into making the right decision,
sure,
fine, good, wonderful. I love the fact that you're able to learn and you're able to grow and you're able to adapt to what your audience is doing. It would be extraordinarily refreshing if Disney would do that.
Red Lobster has excelled at that lately with the boil bags and everything. I mean, they're focused on the food. They're doing social media to show you that there's new food to try. They haven't done any style rebranding that I can tell in the restaurants or with their logo. They're focused on the food.
Yeah, which is what you're supposed to do. So, but the thing that absolutely incensed me about it is the fact that it went so far up. And the reason why it went so far up is because you're dealing with, it's an extraordinarily iconic thing. You cannot understate, and I'm not saying this as one of them, I'm just saying it as a matter of fact, graphic design is almost everything. When you're dealing with these things. So you see the one with the guy with the quote unquote cracker and the barrel on the Cracker Barrel logo. And then you have that's taken away, and then you have a different streamlined version of that. That is instantly recognizable to everyone's brain, and we've already been primed because so many brands in so many different avenues have either stripped them down or watered them down, whatever way that you want to use it, that people could instantly say, it's just like, oh, I see what's happening here. It's happened everywhere else. It's happened a lot at Disney. And I'm just like, and I don't like it, so we're just going to go ahead and start the boycott and everything. And in a sense, Cracker Barrel became the scapegoat of almost all corporate changes that have happened in the last 10 to 15 years across multiple lines of business.
It's the whole DEI thing, and really the whole thing with Cracker Barrel, it literally just came down to the fact that it was a race issue, and it was basically seen as, oh, you're taking the white guy out of the logo, and we don't like that. And so now what happens is it becomes this hot button wedge issue, and everybody's kind of playing it at the surface and not really talking about it for what it really, really is. But it's a whole bunch of people going, don't you take away our white guy in the logo that nobody cared about before, but we're not going to tolerate more wokeness, more DEI, whatever you want to call it. And it's just absurd.
Right. Yeah, and it got so far, and it was so easily digestible to everyone that it
Sure.
eventually got up to the president, and the president made one tweet, and then they changed the whole thing because it really. And I'm not saying this because of who Trump is and everything. I'm saying it because I'm like it's legitimately true. It wasn't like Trump strong armed them, but he gave it the microphone, gave it the megaphone, and with the way that our political center and everything has been shifted, it's just like okay, it literally just if you want something done, it's just like yes, their stock price did go down, but you know what? So did tons of other companies, and they didn't change their course
Yeah, but
at all.
don't you think at
So,
the end of the day that was just virtue signaling from the right?
um, it could be. It
Because it's
could
not
be.
about Cracker Barrel.
I'm not 100% with you with that one, but I would definitely agree to a large extent. I mean, I'm at least 65% of the way with you on that
But
one.
it's like a for us or against us thing, right? So now suddenly Cracker
Yes.
Barrel's response is no, we're with you. And then you have
Hmm.
Steak and Shake the whole time trolling them because Steak and Shake has marked their territory as part of the Maha movement.
Hmm.
Okay, and I saw that there was some overlap there in terms of maybe somebody in the board of directors or something. So there may be some backdooring going on there as well. But it
Yeah.
was all virtue signaling from my perspective. It was all messaging. It was, are you with us or against us? Are you woke or are you anti woke?
Right.
And Cracker
Yeah.
Barrel
I
got
can see
caught
that.
up in that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why they
So
shouldn't have backed down, by the way.
right. Well, I still think that they halfway. I think keep the new logo,
Yeah.
but don't change the and that would have been fine because I actually think that would have been the best of both worlds
Yes.
for the company itself because you're able to say it's just like we hear you. We are going to make the place that you love remain the place that you love, but we need to keep this logo for multiple uses. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep the logo, but we're also going to do, it's just like we're going to stay as much as we can in the past, but we are going to go a little bit in the future here because they do have a problem because most of their even under the best of circumstances, if you're talking about like if you eliminate the food quality issues that they have, they're still having a problem because their whole entire demographic is massively aging out, where people don't want to have Southern home cooking. They don't want to have something that is something where the this is going to get me in so much trouble with the Southeast. They don't want they don't want to have they don't want to have anything where the primary ingredient is lard. At least the kids today is just like they don't want to do that. So they have to figure out a way to fix that one. But yeah,
that's a
they
what
could do that.
business am I in issue. That's your menu.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's true.
So again,
Yeah.
Red Lobster knocked it out of the park because if you want to try something new, if you haven't been there in a while, they're telling you what's new. I
Yeah.
can't name one menu item from the Cracker Barrel refresh, if there even was a refresh on the food. I don't even believe they changed their menu. Maybe they did. I don't know.
think that. I'm not. Well, I know that they like eliminated a few dishes and everything, but that's about it.
Okay, so the logo I understand changing because we live in an Instagram world now, so it makes a better icon and it's cleaner. They
You're right.
could have preserved the essence of, let's call this Cracker their mascot. Okay, they could have preserved the mascot in the essence of it, whether it was incorporating him into the menu and keeping him in the wherever. Make him a plushie. I don't care. But it was the fact that it just shows you that the reason that they did this was for all the wrong reasons and not because they were trying to revitalize their menu. It was because they were trying to actually be woke. Like it shows. And them caving only reinforces the point. They should have said, we're not going to listen to outside pressure. We need to readjust our business. And to your point, yeah, you know what? We'll save some money. We won't touch the way the places look, but we are going to update our menu. But
and even you can even have a sub compromise on that because it's just like go ahead and use on all of your corporate branding and everything the new logo,
right?
But there's no reason to replace it like on the actual storefront or on the road signs or anything.
So the road sign could be the new logo, and then the store could still have you could have had the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
but so it goes back to a lack of desire. And my question for you is, why then? And please help me figure this out. Why then, where I'm saying Cracker Barrel should not have capitulated, do I think Disney should have? What is the difference there?
The difference is that Disney Disney is creating a problem, and Cracker Barrel was trying to solve a problem.
Interesting.
Because because Cracker Barrel is trying to, in a wrong direction, but they are trying to solve a problem.
Right.
There was no problem with the Rivers of America. There was no problem with Great Movie Ride. There was no problem with keeping Epcot a place about optimistic future of humanity. There was no problem there. They just wanted to change stuff for the sake of change. Cracker Barrel was changing to adapt. Disney was changing so that they can conform to the Bob Iger, Bob Chapek ethos. And yes, I'm fully aware, for anybody who listens, I know that Josh D'Amaro is in charge of the parks right now, but it is still Bob Chapek's world that we are living in inside the parks.
Iger. Chapek, but yeah, it's all
Chapek,
Iger.
Iger, yeah, it's like that, yeah. So it's still, it's just like, that's what I say all the time in order to make a delineation. It's just like, okay, yeah, I hate it when people say it's just like, it's just like, oh, Disney Star Wars screwed up, or Disney did this horrible thing that. I'm like, why are you bringing Walt's name into this conversation? It wasn't that one. That's the reason why I always refer to whatever happens with the company today, it is the Iger Corporation. It is not the Walt Disney Corporation. And and I know that sounds like a semantical argument, but the reason why I say that is because if you say that, oh yeah, well, I hate Disney Star Wars, well, who gets the blame for that? It's Walt. It's not Iger. It's not Kathleen Kennedy. No, Walt gets the blame for that.
But you're defining these things for the social media audience, not the business-minded individual who's looking at it from a business perspective. You're talking consumer language, which I think is a lot of noise, because most of these people aren't really. It's not that you're trying to get them to bend, but they're not willing to learn anything. Most of these people think they know everything when they know very, very little. Because the reason you would never call it the Michael Eisner Company, because Michael Eisner understood the founder.
Right, exactly.
And most people don't even understand the value of what Michael Eisner brought to the company. There's still a whole slew of people that are stuck in the narrative that Michael Eisner was a terrible CEO. Right. Michael Eisner was the best CEO the Walt Disney Company ever saw.
And that's been statistically proven time and time again. That's not even a matter of opinion. That's not rose-colored glasses. It's not us longing for the glories of the Disney decade in the '90s and DuckTales and Tower of Terror and all that. No. That's legitimately, if you look at the way that the brand is, he made, adjusted for inflation, magnitudes more than Iger ever did.
Yeah, I don't know what the size of the company was when he left. I don't know how much he grew the company in terms of market cap, but I do know just in broad strokes that he took it from essentially, and most people will think that this is hyperbolic, but it's not, a dying company, because it was on the deathbed. It was on its deathbed. And he took it, and he didn't just repair it, but he made it a global entertainment behemoth. I mean, he took this thing, and he may have overextended in his last phase of doing things with the California Adventures and whatever, the Second Gate. Was he responsible for the Second Gate in Paris? He signed off on it before he left?
Yeah, that was done several years beforehand. But the reason why the Second Gate in Paris exists at all, it's a very short story, is that if they did not do that, they were contractually obligated since the 80s that they would build 2 theme parks. They were, in fact, it was announced at the opening of Euro Disney that they were going to be doing a Disney MGM Studios France or Paris or whatever it was. So they were contractually obligated to do that, and they had to do it within a certain amount of time. And if they didn't do it, that they were going to lose the land, and there would be other negative consequences for it. So they had no choice but to create something there. I know one of the primary art directors that was going on with that, and for all of its faults, and it's still the ugliest of all Disney theme parks. The reason why it was so bare bones is that it was designed so that just like we can go ahead, we won't have to deconstruct anything. We could just add on to this, which is a different thing than what they had with the problem with California Adventure, because California Adventure was just all junk. And then you had to take down the junk and then put something else in there. So
California Adventure didn't even honor the principles of what a Disney park is supposed to be. I mean, the fact that Buena Vista Street didn't even have sidewalks, that it was all flat pavement when you walked in initially in the early days when they had the California letters up and all that nonsense.
The postcard thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't. Yeah. And by the way, just as a total random thing, because I was in LA, I have unopened. Remember the what is it called? The orange spinner swirling thing?
The orange stinger or something?
Orange stinger?
Yeah.
So I have one of those monorail toys, like unopened in the box of that attraction. That, you hook up to the monorail line and I'm like, do I open this one day? Do I never open this? This is like a dead attraction. Doesn't mean it. They don't even make those toys anymore.
No. Yeah.
But so I have that and albeit, and this is just me geeking out, that's unopened. I have an Astro Orbiter that's open. Okay. And I have the Contemporary. It's all in LA. But I got very excited. I was like, I forgot I had this. I remember going to California Adventure back in the early days, Maliboomer and Bugs Land was an awesome little land for kids. I mean, it was done right. But California Adventure, to your point, was a hodgepodge. It was smart to break ground in what I'll call Euro Disney back then. It was smart to break ground on a second gate and lay the foundation for the future of business. But that's what Eisner did all across the map. I mean, that's California Adventure, for better or worse, was this, maybe not the same reasoning, but it was better than not doing anything.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, in regards to California Adventure, there's a couple of things. For one thing, being the creator of 82, the Epcot Legacy, I have gone in contact with a lot of people from California that are absolutely enamored with Epcot. Not the faux Epcot that exists today, ever since 2019, but the one before that. They really love it, and I'm just like I was a proponent, of course, of Westcott, but I look at but it was totally reinforced over the past several years by meeting all these people from California. Like, you really messed it up. You really should have had a Westcott there. That would be absolutely enthralling. One thing. Second thing that's wrong with California Adventure. And actually, it's wrong with some other projects, and I think one of them has already been canceled. Is that it's a violation of something of a theme park principle that is called exoticism, which means that you transport people to a world which does not exist in front of them. The reason why there is no haunted mansion in Paris is because haunted Victorian mansions are a dime a dozen inside of Europe. They needed to have something that was unusual, something that was exotic for them. That's the reason why they have Phantom Manor over there, is because having an Old West creepy haunted estate is far more attractive. It's something that you definitely want to go in the gate to see.
It's not down the street.
It's not down the street, and almost everything in California Venture was down the street. I mean, it's the same thing with this concept, which I've seen has already failed, which had a lot of ex-Imagineers and everything. I think it was called American Heartland, that park that was supposed to go inside of, I believe it was Oklahoma. I looked at the plans on that. I'm like, this is so stupid. This is so fundamentally stupid. You do not put an American Heartland park in the heartland of America.
It makes no sense.
That is dumb. You put that in the middle of Europe, it's fun. You put that in the middle of Japan, it's going to be great. But or Brazil, but you don't put that in the middle of the country. I'm like, I'll just go to the other places with that. And then they also had the other problems. They were going to do like a campground first, and then they would do the theme park later. I'm like, well, then why would anybody go to your stupid campground?
But wait, let's
thank God it's gone. But
let's go back pre-California Adventure, because now you're circling one of my lifelong favorite Disney park topics ever. Disney's America.
Yeah.
Okay, I have always been obsessed with this because really, The problem you're talking about didn't start with California Adventure. It started with Disney's America. Right outside of Washington, D.C., they were going to build Disney's version of American history. Now, aside from the fact that nobody wanted it in the district, and it was going to be a traffic issue. I don't know where exactly it was going to be in Virginia, but it was going to be right over the bridge, I believe.
It was going to be near Haymarket, I believe.
But that was a failed premise. The idea that why would you build Washington, D.C. across from Washington, D.C.?
Well, a little bit of clarification with that is that it does still fall into the concept of exoticism because it was entirely history based.
Right.
So you were going into a past which you cannot find anywhere else.
Yeah,
you were going into history.
In Pennsylvania, there's Penn's Landing, and there's all these old. Yeah. I've done those field trips over the years. They're there, but we just don't take people there.
My thing about that was though is that with Disney's America, and this is a thought that I've had for a long while, is that it's just like there is an enormous cultural power that Disney wielded that they no longer do, and that are no longer able to. And I wonder, because of all of the societal strife that we've been experiencing over the past 10 to 15 years that have really exploded, would any of that exist at all if Disney's America actually existed? If you would have been able to do the American adventure inside out and put it into an entire theme park base, so where people can actually look at American history through this amazing lens of Disney that Disney does. And I think that it would have at least quelled some of the hatred of our country.
I disagree. Because what would have happened is social media still would have been there, and there would have been a whole bunch of people complaining that, the Lincoln animatronic was broken again, and my kid got yelled at by, I don't even know what. I was just going to make up words. So there would have been 100 people complaining about what's wrong with it. Oh my God, I went there and there weren't enough black animatronics. Oh my God, I went there and there were too many white animatronics. No. And it would have been American exceptionalism in all the wrong ways. It would have been as problematic as what Trump's trying to do with the Smithsonian. Because the problem would be who's curating our history. And nobody wanted Disney's version of America.
Well, yeah, that was that was one of the problems. Is just the title and the premise of it itself. It's Disney's America, so it's just with the fact that there was a possessive to it I think that was a huge problem as well. And I think that just the name rubbed people the wrong way. The only thing that I find totally incredulous about that is that you didn't put in this enormously respectful, very tastefully done theme park, and then they built basically not the name brand, but they basically created a Wet and Wild in its place.
In California Adventure?
No, in where Disney's America was supposed to be,
right? They
put in a water park.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then that water park went out of business, and now it's a mall or some sort of commercial district.
To be clear, not Disney. It wasn't Disney. It was some other party that did that.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. But I'm just so wait a minute. You didn't put in Disney because it wasn't respectful, but you put in a Wet and Wild knockoff, and then you put in a shopping center because that is respectful of the area.
It's all about messaging, as you know. Yeah. It's in messaging and its intent, and that is not. That may be boring, and that may be unproductive in terms of contributing to us progressing as a people. Okay, it may not be educational, but it works. And it's not going to disrupt like Disney's America is. So do the same old thing. Put in a mall, put in the water park, put in the crap that we can tear down in 20 years and rebuild. So the thing for me also is, Disney looked at buying Knott's Berry Farm at some point. And that would have made more sense in terms of preserving some version of Americana. So anyway, so you look at all this and you go, at one point Disney actually was, to get back to something you said earlier, Disney was actually in the business of Americana. There was a concerted effort throughout the history of the parks, whether we're talking about the Knott's acquisition, whether we're talking about Disney's America. There was always an understanding that part of the core principles of what Walt set out to do with the parks was honor this country. And I feel like much of what's happening now in Disney World and much of what's happening over with Disney Adventureland in France is the new footprint. It's the new blueprint, rather, excuse me. And that is to basically strip out all the Americana, okay, and just take the core of the park and retheme everything through IP. So again, Mickey Avenue, okay, right, which they already have. Isn't that in Shanghai?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so it's already a thing. But that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing, and I don't know if it's too strong to say that Bob Iger hates America. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think he understands it, and I think that being a patriot has become too politicized. And there's two things the Walt Disney Company does not know how to navigate: politics and race. Correct.
If I was to be if I was to be more charitable, or perhaps even more accurate, I would say that Bob Iger is agnostic on Americana. He's agnostic on this country. He has an enormous apathy for it, and really a lot of that too. Just like you were talking about the acquisitions of Pixar and everything. The reason why Bob Iger was able to make all those deals is because it was always in the subservience of the Disney brand itself. And the reason why that Eisner could not do that is because Michael Eisner was the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Bob Iger, in a functional sense, still believes that he's the head of ABC Capital Cities. So he doesn't care about the brand of Disney. He just wants to make a company bigger. It doesn't matter whatever happens, whatever it just, and really a lot of it is just like him riding the coattails of every single creative genius that was inside of Hollywood that was acquirable. So it's just like, oh, look, they're doing something really good with Pixar. Let me snatch that up. Oh, look, Marvel's going to do this cinematic universe. Okay, let me go get that. Oh, and now, look, I'm the good guy. I'm the impressive one. Meanwhile, you buy these companies for much more than their market value, especially with Fox, and then and with a couple of the other ones as well. And then you turn over all of the company's resource and everything to those, and you leave nothing for yourself. And here's the problem with that, because you could think, well, yeah, sure, if Disney's going down and Marvel's going up, then yeah, you would shift all of your focus to Marvel. What company was able to buy which company? It wasn't that Marvel had all of the enormous capital that the Walt Disney Company has. No, the Walt Disney Company brand, the Walt Disney Company's social capital, its entire assets, were far, far, far more valuable than any of the stuff that Bob Iger has been paying attention to. So it's no wonder why, even if we didn't have things like superhero fatigue, or we didn't have the enormous problems with the out-of-touch writers inside of the writer's room, if we had none of that, you're still going for these niche acquisitions, when you should have been focusing on the broad base that is the Walt Disney Company, because the Walt Disney Company is superior to all of those combined, and it's not an opinion. It's on the spreadsheet.
I agree with you unequivocally. However, you have to give a little credit where credit is due for the fact that Bob Iger saw that the Walt Disney Company had to become a tech company to survive. And he knew that if he didn't start gobbling up IP, that somebody else would. And he knew that part of his early positioning was to grab as many assets as possible and build up Disney Plus. He acquired BAMTech, which was originally built for the MLB. Okay, he acquired BAMTech for the backbone for Disney Plus, so he could skip all that development and get ahead of the 8-ball. Okay, so he was trying to position Disney in a world of tech companies gobbling up studios. So if he did not acquire Fox, if he did not continue to make the company larger, then they would be ripe for acquisition. Okay, and he even states in his book that him and Steve would have merged the companies, because in many ways, Disney needs to be a tech company. Okay, and maybe one day that merger will still happen.
Can you explain that to me?
Yeah. What?
Can you explain why do you think that Disney is a tech company?
No, I'm not saying that they are a tech company.
Okay.
Bob Iger wants them to be a tech company.
Okay, all right, then that's fine.
To compete.
Because he's delusional.
But they play in a lot of tech, right? Tech is a huge. That's why the
tech,
Apple.
Tech is just a tool to facilitate the content. The content is what Disney actually is. We don't do it because we're able to click a button and get anything on our streaming service. That's not what we care about.
No,
we care about the actual. We care about the actual stuff.
You nailed it. But here's the thing, Joshua. Back in the day, we used to use the Vault, right?
Right.
And when you have everything on Disney Plus now, like Bob tried to do, it takes all the mystique away. Now every one of your characters is equally accessible. So there's no mystique to putting something away in the vault and then trotting it back out. Eisner tapped into that. That was brilliant. Sometimes time away is the best thing. Okay.
Well, here's the thing with that though. So we have definitely a contention with that. Is that first of all, there are over 700 titles that are Disney owned that are not tied to any other licensing agreement. If they have not added on Disney Plus,
correct.
They also are not investing into invigorating that library as much as they possibly can, correct. Because they should. What Disney Plus should have been is it should be a boutique operation, and they should have done basically what you would do with, like, if you would need to do like a TCM type of structure for this, where
sounds like effects. But go on. Sounds like
say that again.
The effects network.
No. I mean literally TCM. I mean Turner Classic Movies. They should.
I know, but I'm saying they have enough cable assets. They could easily do it. Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
So you come up with showcases. You come up with live events that you can do with it. You create bonus features. It's just like, oh yeah, remember all of these Haley Mills films? You do a whole entire suite of things that are associated with that. So there are ways that you can invigorate your vault. You can also do things if you want to. You can even go really far out. And, like with all of the amazing AI technologies now that people are stupidly using to make stormtroopers that look like porcelain china cups, I'm like, screw that. Why don't you take the kinescope recording of Disneyland and you actually use AI and you use the technologies and use the CGI artists and everything, and you create a full 4K version of that experience in full color with Dolby Sound to put you literally on the day that Disneyland was open.
Now we know
That's
what you're
what people want. Yeah, well, I'd like to, but I'm like, that's what you should do. Because that's your most valuable asset, but he doesn't care about that.
I don't disagree with you. I don't know where the contention lay, because it doesn't exist.
Okay.
I'm simply saying I give credit because he saw what needed to be done in terms of gobbling up IP to make the company larger as it pivoted to tech. But I think he played his cards wrong, because they didn't need Hulu. Okay. And they should have, to your point, leaned on the back catalog as well as the new catalog, and made Disney Plus the vault. And there could have been ways to offset the idea of, we take things away, we bring it back out, to now further utilize them in a limited capacity. Maybe you boutique some of the stuff, but you need to have a Netflix competitor. They didn't need Hulu. Hulu was originally built. I was at NBC Universal at the time. I know exactly where I was when they announced that the name was Hulu, and I said, that is the dumbest name ever. And I was wrong because it grew on me. But it was a JV between ABC, NBC, and whoever else was involved at the time. I think Fox was in the mix. And in the early days, Hulu was browser-based only, and it was some movies and some TV shows. The last couple ones you missed. It was almost like a DVR. And then as Netflix ramped up, Hulu ramped up. And then everybody started going out for their own OTTs, because they said, why am I... we took all this money from Netflix, we fed the monster, so now we have to compete directly with the monster. But we can't compete in concert together. We need to go wrap our arms around our IP and build up our own OTT. So Iger was right to build Disney Plus. There was an arms race going on. Not all of these will survive. Disney Plus will survive. Peacock may not survive.
Disney Plus has actually failed enormously, but Hulu has succeeded. And so what they're doing is they're going to graft Hulu onto it, and they're just going to change the name.
But they were doing that with Star. Star in India was propping up Disney Plus numbers from the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's another thing where I'm just like I'm moving the goalpost slightly, but I'm doing it for a good reason. Is that this whole entire streaming war and everything? It was basically, and I had said this from the beginning, and no one listened. But this is part of being a futurist and part of being a modern day Cassandra, the ancient Greek high priestess.
That has other people read books to him.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Say it again.
Nothing.
Is that no one listened to it and everything. This is basically what they did with streaming as a pyramid scheme.
Right.
For one thing, you can, and they only use the metric of, okay, yeah, we have growth of subscribers. You will eventually top out of that. And almost all of them have already reached that point that they thought that they were going to get to in like 15, 20 years from now, when they're all retired and they don't have to assume any responsibility. They thought that it's just like, oh yeah, we can take over the money. There's only so many people in the world. There's only so many people that can actually consume this kind of stuff. Your subscriber numbers are stupid.
That's why they brought in ads, because at a certain point, what happens when you stop? But by the way, I think they just announced in their last earnings call that they're going to stop reporting sub numbers.
Well, of course, yeah.
So,
and also the other problem with that too is that there's no, if you're talking about the ad dollars and everything, there's a huge problem with that because you're only going by their internal word on that. There's no external force. There's no policing of any of these numbers. No one's given the back door inside of these things. So what they can say is just say, oh yes, well, this show over here that you're going to put an ad on and everything, it gets somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 million people watching it every single week. And it's just like, oh, that sounds good. Okay, yeah, sure. So we're going to charge you this amount of money for your marketing for it. That's your number, and I don't believe you.
But by the way, that's what Nielsen was. I mean, you just
the Nielsen TV one it was separate from.
But everybody agreed to the lie.
Right.
So the way the Nielsen worked was everybody agreed that we don't know what we're talking about, but if we all honor the same bullshit metrics, we can make this work. One set top box times 1 million, blah blah blah. So then what you do is you go into a TV upfront, right? And you sell advertising. And I go, Joshua, I got the best television show, okay? I got 5 names that you'll be salivating over, okay? The biggest stars in Hollywood on the show. It's going to be a massive hit. And you go, oh my God, take my money. And I go, I will. We don't even have a script, you idiot. And then I take your money. And then we go make the show. And the show sucks. And we burn off all the episodes on a Saturday. And I go, Joshua, I'm going to give you those ads. I'm not going to give you your money back because I'm not a fucking idiot. You are. Okay. And now I'm going to just throw those ads somewhere else on some show that you didn't sign up for, but you're the fool, the advertiser. And what else are you going to do? You got to advertise somewhere. Thank you. Have a nice day. So now you're like, oh, well, he gave me those ad hits on that Saturday. And he gave me some Wednesday night cop drama space. Great. Nice guy. And that's the shell game of TV ad sales. It is literally a Ponzi scheme. By the way, I'm not calling you an idiot. I know you know that, but when they clip it out,
exactly, yeah.
You understand I'm not doing it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's such a ridiculous notion with that and everything. It was just, but at the certain, and I do think that at a certain point, I'm like, who do you think that you're kidding? It's just like eventually, and that's already happened with something like the subscriber numbers, and so people eventually. This is the thing that I say to people all the time. I'm not saying this to build myself up. It's just a point of fact and everything. I'm just
I won't give you a hard time about it yet.
Fine. Wherever I am right now mentally, you will be in like 5 to 6 years.
Right.
With almost every single issue.
I get it, but look, because you live on the front of the curve.
Yeah.
I'm someone who lives in the front of the curve as well. I get it, man. And what happens is it starts to drive you insane.
Yes, because it's so enormously frustrating. Because I could see him just like where I am now and how I feel about this XYZ thing. This sucks. I hate this, and and I don't want you to get to the point where you hate it. So we need to fix this, but that never happens.
No, because the people you're talking to don't really care. You're just entertaining them for 3 seconds on a feed.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so.
And honestly, that's why I like talking to you, because as much as I'm turning this into content and putting this out, I actually just enjoy the damn conversation, because it's like there's a nuance to it, and I always do kind of chuckle because we don't ever really seem to disagree. Like, and I think that the funny thing to me about that is when you really get down to the nitty gritty in life, I think most people want the same things. And
Correct.
whether we're talking about a stupid theme park or whether we're just talking about the country, you know, and I think that the hardest thing these days is people just refuse to have the conversation because they don't want the friction.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're just using like our conversations for the example, I think that we agree on the principles that are there. I think that the problem that we have is the articulation. It's
always the articulation, isn't it? Though?
It's always just like, well, I wouldn't put it that way. Okay, fine. Then the way that I'm saying is this or that. So it's just like, well, yeah, I can go ahead and I can get that. That makes sense. Just like, okay, fine, yeah. And I understand that that's just part of human nature and everything because we're all struggling to figure out how to communicate better with each other. So,
but that's messaging, and that's just like a perfect segue into the next thing I want to talk about because this whole Rivers of America thing, when you were really pushing it hard, and I tried, man. You know, from trying to get Tyler's music video out there and get it pressed, and that crashed and burned. And then I have the Jeff Volley emails, which are legitimate emails, and I love when people tell me that I fell for something that I didn't fall for. And I've spoken to reporters I would message you, you know, and sometimes I feel like you know what this feeling is. I'm like, I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm hitting walls, but I'm not done, you know?
Right.
And I spoke to somebody last week. I don't want to say where he's from, but he's a huge reporter and he reports on business. And he's into the story. And I'm like, I'm not going to stop. Okay. But there's only so much one person can do. And the reason I get to that is because I thought your messaging was on point. And I thought that, again, the problem is you were speaking to the wrong people. And I felt like I can only do so much from my side to help you. And I was doing my thing on TikTok and, you know, doing whatever I could do to reach out to people and then just trying to do something stupid like the video game, make it go viral, whatever it may be. And it's like, okay, all of these things would have worked with a different subject matter. All of these things worked with Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And it's almost like it was too much. Like I'm editing something now, which is a total tangent. But Nolan Bushnell, who created Chuck E. Cheese and Atari, the very first video game was called Computer Space. The very first arcade game was not Pong; it was Computer Space. And I think the desktop version was called Space War, and he brought it over and he put it out there in malls and whatever. And it was, if you look at like the movie like Soylent Green, I believe it's in there. It's a very futuristic fiberglass cabinet, but it bombed. It was too complicated. It was too complicated. It was too many controls. So he goes, no, it's just too much for these people. And he created Pong. There was barely anything to touch. People didn't have to use their brains.
Just literally that's all it is. Just
so it's just like, I just think the reason something like Cracker Barrel cuts through is because it's the least common denominator drivel.
It's extraordinarily easily digestible. People saw what it was and everything. Like, if you wanted to take it just as a pure like example, okay, so the only way that and this is unfortunately what's going to happen, or let's hope that it doesn't happen and there's still room to back out, but let's just say that everything goes according to the plan as it has right now. They're going to come to a point where Pissed on Peak is going to open, and people are going to look at that. They're going to look at the Haunted Mansion. They're going to look at Liberty Square. They're going to be like, this is horrible. I hate this. There's nowhere to relax in this park. There's no, I can't even recognize half of it anymore. I'm not coming back for this. I'm not going to spend at that time, $250 per day to do this anymore, because there's no connection to anything that I had in my childhood, which is the reason why that this thing exists in the first place. But by then, it's going to be too late. Way too late. And then the entire business model just goes away.
Well, that's what people don't get, because now suddenly what you've done is
you can see that with Cracker Barrel, though, because Cracker Barrel, they already did the test restaurants, so you saw exactly what was going to happen, and it was on all of the videos.
That goes back to doing it for the wrong reasons, Joshua. Even though there was a problem, this goes back to something you said earlier, but even though there was a problem they were trying to solve versus you saying Disney created the problem, Cracker Barrel, their intent to solve the problem was still misguided, right? They were really trying to be less white. Like, I'm just going to call it the way I see it. And by the way, I am not a conservative. Okay, so you can shove it up your ass if you want to call me a racist. Okay, because I'm tired of people saying that, because whatever, my drug dealer's black. So I'm just kidding.
I know you're definitely not a conservative.
I go to a store and he's Armenian. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice guy. I think he's Armenian. He might be Armenian. He could be Russian. I don't know. Anyway, that's not the point. The Cracker Barrel thing is low. It's low hanging fruit, least common denominator, and the Disney thing is a nuanced conversation about business. This is why I said the Cracker Barrel thing is basically virtue signaling. It was a matter of who's on our team. Okay, the Disney thing, people have their own perceptions of what Disney is and whatever. Nobody's going to Cracker Barrel anyway. That's why they were in that situation. Disney has a base of people that are willing to pay anything. And now, going down the line that you just laid out, when those people start to be repelled, who's going to pay those prices? It's not going to be the people that pissed on peak, as you call it, is built for. So are you going to lower your prices? Like, in other words, what are you going to do? Because when your capacity drops, when you start to repel the people that once paid everything, okay, when you really start to effectively alienate them the way you want to, and again, this is now creating a problem that didn't exist, okay, because you could have done something else. And I think some of the concept art that we've seen as of late shows a desire to find a middle, because they've added more of a river. And if you look at the positioning of the river and the scale of it, theoretically, you are going to have a river. Theoretically.
You're going to have a creek. It's going to be like
it could be a river.
It's going to be like it's going to be 8 feet wide at the maximum.
But it could have been. It could have been as wide as what's there now.
It could have been. Well, here's the thing though about that too. Is just like, I'm probably jumping a little bit ahead of here, but I do know that they have. The Imagineers who are working on this know that they are destroying this, and they know the full ramifications of what's happening, and they don't like it. The people that are in charge of destroying it do not like it, which is the reason why they submitted 3 completely separate plans to keep the river and put in the knockoff Cars land. And all of those, and this is the most unbelievable part, and I just found this out recently, all of them were were less expensive than what they are doing now. Far less expensive. Jeff said no. Jeff decided to destroy the beauty, the history, the legacy of this park intentionally. And he's doing it by shirking the fiduciary responsibility that he is entrusted with. How the heck are you going to be able to?
Well, I can see how much that moves you. Like, I can hear that in your voice, like how much that really upsets you. And this is just what I'm saying. So who's going to foot this cost? Literally, who's going to foot this cost?
Well, here's the thing, though. You were talking about, okay, fine. That people are going to be coming less and less, and they're already doing that. See, here's the thing, though. Here's another bigger problem with it, is that during this construction phase, when they're almost killing people of heat stroke in the Haunted Mansion, so they won't need that 1,000 ghost. They'll already have it there. During this entire thing, where the Magic Kingdom will be profoundly ugly the entire way through, your attendance was already decreasing beforehand. It's going to decrease precipitously even now. So you've made an already bad problem significantly worse. That even if it was a great idea, even if Cars Land was something that even Joshua will approve of, you might not make it out of this alive. Because what do you do when you do that? I know exactly what it is because I know exactly what the plans are. I know because I've seen the initial parts of it, and I didn't even know when I made my post about the doomsday scenario about what happens with the destruction of Walt Disney World, which, by the way, is not a question of if it will happen.
No, it's a matter of
when. It's a when it will happen.
There's too much land sitting idle.
Yeah. Walt Disney World is going to die eventually. Now, it can die in 2023, or it could, it can die in 150 years from now, or it can die in 10 years from now.
This is why I support the merger in a way that I never used to.
Yeah.
Because it was a different world back then, and I'd be like, I can't imagine any company having top billing over Disney. But I think
exactly.
Apple is the only company that could turn the Florida project, those 40 square miles, into a campus.
Well, I've often thought though, like one of the things that they will definitely do at some point, like some of the hotels are going to become apartment complexes at some point or another.
Mm-hmm.
It also might be another thing that goes on, like as much as I am disinclined to agree with anything that comes out of his mouth. When Bob Iger said that the attendance problem in like 2022, I think it was, where he said it was the heat problem, I think it actually might be a real thing now. I think that he was lying then, but I do think that it's a real problem now, because if you look at the aging of our population, if you look at the way that the temperatures have been going, I mean, it's absolute hell on our Earth when you're dealing with the parks inside of August and September and all the summer months and everything. And also they've taken out most of the cooling facilities. Epcot doesn't have it doesn't have nearly the amount of indoor space anymore. They've taken away benches, they've taken away trees, They've taken away anything that would be able to cool down the guests and everything. So now they actually might have a heat problem. In fact, if you were truly humane with the way that this business is run, you would shut down Walt Disney World for 3 months of the year. It would be at the end of July. It would be somewhere around July until September.
Well,
if you were going to do it that way,
the way that they get away with that is reduce. They have you have one water park open, and then you reduce Animal Kingdom hours, and you're pretty much good to go. And so they do that. But look, I'm of the mindset that if somebody cared, the right leadership could come along and could still give us the Epcot that Walt wanted. Like there's enough land there to build a progress city and make it the vacation destination city / whatever. You know, it's not quite.
They still haven't built on that land, by the way.
But
if you look at the map where Progress City was supposed to be, there's still basically nothing there.
No, Epcot just was the hub. So if you have all that space, it's pretty much all the space between the Magic Kingdom and Epcot, right? Like running along the monorail
where it is. In fact, if you look at the original 66 plans and everything, they have that little industrial park that was below that. That's exactly where Epcot Center is now. You know, so it is between the two. It is all that land that's between the Magic Kingdom and Epcot.
So it could be done. And do I think it will be done? No. But like part of me realized it's not necessarily too late, but there's the commentary on the state of the company and there's the commentary on the state of the world. Okay. So if you just take the state of the company and put that to the side, let's just pretend like everything is great with the company. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Still the state of the world. Okay. And most legacy companies aren't destined to last forever. So I agree with the notion that at some point, if you aren't doing something with 2/3 of your land, somebody's going to decide to either sell it off or sub it out or do something with it. No one's going to look at that. Nobody in this world that we're living in is going to look at a company of that magnitude and that much land and say, just keep holding it. At some point, something's going to give.
Well, yeah, and I do think that, like, again, you want to talk about looking at it under a flawless lens. If we were dealing with Disney and the Walt Disney World in its golden era of 1992, which I've proven statistically, it's not subjective, it's a fact. You would look at it and just like, we're going through an AI revolution. We are going to have virtual realities that people are going to be able to experience and everything. And for a little while, even Bob Chapek, the evil Bob Chapek, actually just alluded to the fact that they were going to be leaning into creating essentially virtual theme parks. I'm like, once you are able to master those type of technologies, it's over for the theme park period. And the reason why it's over for is not necessarily what you would think, because for the last there's a thing. Okay, so in the mid 90s, they were developing the virtual reality headsets that were going to eventually be inside of Disney Quest, and then they had a whole Walt Disney Imagineering R&D department display that was inside of Innoventions, inside of Epcot and everything. And as part of this, there's a quote that John Hench, which is the co-founder of Imagineering, he said, he said, quote, virtual reality is nothing new. We've been doing it for 40 years. Well, there's a problem with that, and I know that John did not intend it this way. John was just saying, just like with this, I mean, we've been doing this for real here. He was saying it to the glory of the stuff that he created.
Sure.
But what people interpreted is they interpreted it forward to where now a lot of theme park design is based off of video game interactivity. And the problem with that is just like, okay, well, the more and more that you make theme parks like a video game, the less that people are going to want to experience them. Because look, I can either spend $200 inside of a theme park for a day. It'd be sweltering hot or cold or whatever it is. It could be super crowded. It's going to be expensive to get anything. I'm going to have to buy a lightning lane, or I'm going to have to wait in line with the common people. I don't want to do that. Or I can go ahead and I can spend the same amount of money getting a video game, because you've already gilded yourself up as a video game and you're already comparing yourself to a video game. I can go ahead and I can do that. And I can go ahead and be in there as long as I want to in 72-degree weather with no wait, with every single thing that you could be able to think of with virtual reality technology. Well, then the entire business goes away with that.
I mean, look, I don't want to get too geeky. Well, do I really care? Mm-hmm. AR is the thing you're glossing over there. AR is what keeps people in the physical space, because VR, sure. Anybody can see, and by the way, you still need a decent amount of space even in a home environment. Nobody's really effectively cracked consumer grade VR the way it is when you go to a VR experience in like a storefront. You need space. But AR in a theme park, that's the future of theme parking. AR technology, overlay, people walking around with smart glasses on and being able to interact in a physical space with dynamic assets. That's what will keep people coming into physical spaces. That's the kind of the meow wolf of it all. And I don't even think Meow Wolf has gone that far down that rabbit hole yet. But I think AR is the compelling thing there. I'm laughing at the VR comment because I saw a clip of The Wizard of Oz. I've seen many clips, but I saw a clip the other day of it. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not a sphere. It's giant contact lens. I mean, it's literally an IMAX screen. Mm-hmm. It's not a sphere. This is why people are dumb. It's not a sphere.
Yeah. And I've actually I followed that closely myself because I'm really fascinated about it. Like the first time that they were showing the some of the test footage and everything that they were doing for it, my immediate thought was, oh my God, please do Fantasia next.
No, please don't.
Fantasia. But then the more stuff that has come out with that, I mean, because I was defending it for a long while, and I'm not just a Disney historian. I'm also a film historian. I focus primarily on the time period of basically the Hays Code all the way up until the collapse of the studio system. So like 1963. So I'm very much into the history part, but I was defending it because it's just in one location. They're not changing the actual film. You could go and you could watch the actual film still, but the fact that they took 30 minutes out of the film, and the fact that they replaced they cheated and they put in a different wizard head inside of the throne room, and all of these other things that they've been doing with it.
Why did they do that?
Well, they just couldn't come up with a high enough resolution with it, and I don't think that their AR technology could handle it, because it was the original wizard head was an overlay that was semi-transparent, and there was also smoke on it and everything. So they have problems being able to create a new face out of that.
So they just had to create a new 1-to-1, or was it 1-to-1, or was it a complete new design?
Oh, it's a completely new head.
Really?
On there. So yeah. So when you go inside of his throne room, it's either they shot it or they did it with AI. So, but I'm just like, okay. And then the 30-minute thing. The only thing that but the thing that most people don't understand about this is that this is basically their plan C, because there is an amazing YouTube channel that I watched. It's Damni Lee, Damilee. She is an architect. She's from Canada, but she is of Asian descent, and she she does some amazing architectural videos and everything. It really goes into like not only just the technicals, but also the philosophy, the way that it interrelates with the community, and the way that it has an effect on people and their dynamics and everything. Anyway, she did a whole video about the problematic nature of the sphere, and there is a huge problem with it because in order to create the visuals that they need to for it, is an exorbitant cost. Even the most popular musical acts in the world cannot afford to make the media needed for the sphere. The sphere is also way, way, way too large for human, basically consumption. I mean, it's overkill to the nth degree. So they were supposed to be a concert venue exclusively, but they only got like U2 to do it. And like, even if, you're talking about like, even Michael Jackson in the 80s, adjusted for inflation, could not afford to create media for this thing. So so as part of their, oh my God, we're going to lose all this money from creating this enormous sphere thing, is this Wizard of Oz thing, which actually is a pretty great, plan B, C,
Right.
for that one, because it's just like, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead and create a new experience for it. Makes a lot of sense for it. It's just in one location, so it's not like we're destroying the cinematic integrity of the thing. So just go ahead and do it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to see this, because it's just it's too gimmicky, and you've also taken yourself way too much out of it. So I was a tepid supporter of of what they were doing with Wizard of Oz, but I'm like, now I'm just like,
But I think a circle vision,
Yeah.
right? So if you want to give me a 360 immersive experience, put it all the way around me. I don't even care what's above me at that point. I mean, if I want to go see something above me, I'll go to whatever dome it is. You go up to Griffith Park and the observatory. So it requires, it's a huge canvas. It's like you built this giant console, but you don't have anything to program on it because you don't know what to program on it. So why did you build it?
Right.
But if it's just a giant IMAX screen, why do I need it? And if you're going to be doing all these physical effects, the wind and the rain, the snow, whatever the hell it is, then that's a theme park, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Twister exhibit that used to be at Universal. So at a certain point, I just go like, this makes me think of Netflix all over again, because you're talking to somebody that thinks Netflix is a money laundering scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at this sphere and I go, is this just a money laundering scheme? Because there's literally, and the fact that you have to lean on a movie from 1939, The Wizard of Oz. So really, I mean, that just proves The Wizard of Oz is the greatest film of all time. Okay, but you couldn't create original content for this thing, so then why do you have it? I don't understand. This is why we're so dumb as a culture, because we don't think. Who spends all this money without knowing what you're going to do with it? And then the best you can do is The Wizard of Oz, and now suddenly you have to force yourself to come up with stuff to fill the frame. There's nothing compelling. So I'm giving you how much money to sit there and have you throw shit in my face and to look at some blue sky Compton on the left and the right? I'd rather watch it in VR goggles.
Yeah, and it would probably be more effective that way too. It's just like there's so much for the excusing the fact that they don't have the dynamism or the cultural draw that movies have right now, or for that matter, any other media. They nevertheless, they are flush with cash, so they definitely have all of these things that are going on with them. But they have no vision about what to do with it at all. And they also, it's just like, well, we've made all this investment, so we want to be safe about it. We want to make sure that it's a sure thing. Well, if you eliminate all the risk from it, when you eliminate all of the risk in your business, that is the most risky thing that you can do, because all that you're doing is you're creating something safe that people have seen beforehand, that they're not that you're not creating anything that they would compel them to experiment and just like, oh yeah, there's this new thing out there. Okay, I don't know what it is, but it could be really interesting.
But that's the theme park, Joshua. I mean, you're describing theme parking, right? So it's like, let me get you to spend the money on a ticket and check it out once, and if you don't come back, that's okay. And that's what Universal does well, and that's what Disney's leaning into. Disney used to be nostalgia. Come back again. Remember, show your kids kids. Now it's all churn.
Right.
So when the Sphere competes with Netflix, and Netflix competes with Universal Studios. It's all access, right? So you get access to an experience and its perception of value. Where are you going to spend your money, and how much do you think you're getting out of it? So now, instead of giving you, in the case of Disney, a really immersive, well thought out, highly themed experience, we just want to get you on as much shit as possible so you feel like you can justify the expense. Because when you go over to see The Wizard of Oz for a little bit less money, you're going to have a lot more fun. So now we got to compete with that. So we got to throw more stuff in your face and keep you overstimulated. They're not the same product, but in many ways, to go back to your idea of like, well, if you could put the goggles on, why would you leave the house? These are the stunts they're pulling. Not because it's got legs, because it doesn't. No one's going to go pay to see The Wizard of Oz in the Sphere twice, but you may go once. You're not going.
I think it's like I think it's like $90 to $100 or something like that.
Yeah, that's absurd. Remember when Netflix did the whole Mike Tyson fight? Is it a year ago already? Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, whatever the hell it was. You know what I'm talking
about? A little bit, not completely. But go ahead.
Big exhibition fight, right? Mm-hmm. How millions of people watching live on Netflix, and it's buffering. Never in the age of pay-per-view would that be acceptable. Was that a thing? But Netflix doesn't care because nobody can be held accountable to quality anymore. It's a churn game. Mm-hmm. We know we're going to hold this thing. A whole ton of people are going to sign up tonight just to see it who don't have Netflix. We're going to do a cash grab. And even if it sucks, it doesn't really matter because once it's done, it's done. And that's what the Sphere is. It's a gimme. It's a gimmick. It's a gimmick. It's better to do The Wizard of Oz than U2. Wizard of Oz has much more appeal than U2. Remember when they put U2 on everyone's iPod and everyone freaked out? So The Wizard of Oz, something that old has the legs and the foundation, and they're leveraging that. They're leveraging that goodwill and that brand power to hope they can put asses in the seats that they'll never get back again. Who's going to go pay to see The Wizard of Oz in the Dome twice, in the Sphere twice? Once maybe because you said you did it, and then you're going to regret it. Okay? Yeah. It's the same thing when Grandma brings her family to the Magic Kingdom in a couple years, and she walks up Main Street, and she goes back into Liberty Square, and she sees Ka-Chow. She goes, what the hell is this? We're never coming back. It's the same thing, but Disney's
and it's the older generation that actually has the money for it. Like they had those surveys that they put out that was really creepy, where they had that one or two questions, just like, are you essentially? They're saying they use much more safe language, but it was just like, do you have anybody who's dying soon that you'll get inheritance from? And I was on another show, and the people are just like, oh, well, what is this about and everything? And just like, I'm like, I'll tell you exactly what it is. Because they're the ones who paid all the money. They're the ones that are bankrolling these vacations. To be
explained is frightening in of itself.
Yeah,
it's transparent what there's. Because it's generational money funding these vacations. But if there's no nostalgia, then they're going to spend the money somewhere. By the way, Evermore, right across the street, it's got like it's like Bay Lake. Excuse me, it's like the Seven Seas Lagoon. In terms of like what you can do out there, it's like the olden days, man. I mean, these billionaires decided to build an immersive vacation destination. There's a giant lagoon. You can take out kayaks. You can go out on paddle boards. You can swim. I mean, it's everything that you used to be able to get right outside the Magic Kingdom. Right behind Epcot, you can literally see Spaceship Earth from the balcony. And so there are other options in Orlando. And what's going to happen is, and this is what you've been saying, is it's not that Disney's going to lose everybody completely. It's that they're just going to become a choice. It's not going to be 6-7 days on property. It's going to be, let's go stay over at Evermore. Let's go stay at Universal, and then we'll hop over to MK for a day. They created this problem in the pursuit of a new customer. And again, I think, like you said, fast forward a few years from now, everyone will be catching up. But they're in pursuit of this new churn model. the same model that can be applied to Disney Plus, this idea of access, quality takes a back seat.
Yeah.
It's all perceived value at that point. Quality this is why everything today, you buy something off the TikTok shop, you buy whatever it is, it's all crap that used to see on infomercials. But now it's everywhere. It's on Amazon, it's on the TikTok shop, it's everywhere. And it doesn't matter. One influencer moves 500,000 units, they're done. On to the next grift. There's no quality. There's no supply chain standards. Everything now is about just getting your $5, getting your credit card on file, getting you to buy something because it's flashy and fun, and when it breaks, there's nobody to return it to. So it's a very disposable culture, and Disney has opted to lean into that. And that, to me, is why I believe firmly, unlike many others, that you nailed it. And the problem was never your messaging on the Save the Magic Kingdom campaign. It was the people you were talking to.
Yeah, and really, there's a little bit of the back end that is associated with that. But before I go into that and everything, the problem though with you're talking about with this disposable culture and everything is that you're going to make $5 today, but here's the problem for you for that. You still have to continue to churn. You still have to, then I have to come up with something for the next week or the next quarter, and I have to come up with something fresh and something stupid. I have to create another stupid thing. If you spend a little bit of time and you make something that is actually of substance, then you could just sit back. Just like, I'll just let the money roll in for the next 30, 50 years to go ahead and do it. They're not doing that. I'm just like, well, fine. If you created it in a disposable way, you're going to have problems with that. This is one of my foundational sayings, principles, and everything. Short-term profits are long-term liabilities. Short-term profits are long-term liabilities. Mm-hmm. If you are looking for a quick buck today, that is going to severely impact you in the future. You have to go for the long road. It's one of the things. Literally, the first time that I went to traditions with Disney, they play the videos and everything about all the flashy stuff. Well, one of the videos was Michael Eisner welcoming you to the company, and he said in there, "The high road is our only road." And that has stuck with me for 25 plus years now. It's just like, yes, the high road is the only road. Because if you go to the low road, there's going to be unintended consequences. There's going to be lots of bad things that are going to happen in order for you to do that. But talking about the Save the Magic Kingdom campaign, I do know that it was having an effect internally. There was, for one thing, and this is something that most people don't really realize, and I don't think they really connected the dots on, is that I don't know if you remember, you probably didn't watch the show. I typically don't watch it, although I do my opposition research occasionally. The Walt Disney World News Today had a whole entire podcast, with Tom Corliss, which I occasionally call Tom Cortexless.
Again, way too intelligent of a comment.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't apologize to me. Apologize to the people Googling.
Yeah. That he said that they had, so they were selected. So being on the media list and everything, of course, they were selected by Imagineering to have a phone meeting with them to get them to understand what they're doing with the Rivers of America and with this Cars Land thing. They're just like, oh no, we're going to put in this and that and everything. We heard you about this, and it's not going to necessarily be this way. It's actually going to be that way, doing whatever they can to go ahead and smooth it over and everything with it. They would not need to do that if there was not enormous backlash that was associated with it.
And you don't go to a yes man for that.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah, but the reason why they chose the yes man is because they were just like, look, this is the way it's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lie to you, but you're going to take it anyway, and then you're going to tell everybody about it, and it's going to be okay.
You know what? He's got some deal with the company, because all that black market merch he's making and that they're allowing him to make, he's paying his tithe somewhere along the line. He's paying them.
Yeah. So they did that. So that one's just an external force with that one. The other one was that as part of the winding down process of this Rivers thing, during the last couple of weeks for that, I had discovered, and I'm trying to say this in a way where no one will be able to figure out who it is, but an extremely important person to me that was in the company, I lost their external support.
It was me.
No.
Oh, yeah. I was in the company. So far, I thought I was trying to help you.
Yeah. Right. But
smoke screen.
It's yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's.
I ain't mad at you.
Yeah. Right. But I was, and that really, really hurt me. Normally, I don't care if you follow me, don't follow me, right. Go ahead and do it. I'm more than happy to. I always say, I'm more than happy to press the block button at any particular point. If you're rude, if you're disrespectful, if I know that I'm never going to get any headway with you, I owe you nothing. And it is literally the way that I have my content set up, the way that I do it. I try to be as much of a positive force on all of the social medias. If I block you or you don't follow me, it is literally your loss. It is not mine. I get nothing from you.
I love that.
And I owe you nothing.
I love that.
Except for a few people, including some people that mean
but
very much to me.
You're automatically talking about the difference between real life and people on social media.
Correct, yeah, because the person I'm talking about is definitely a real person.
Right.
And I noticed it just by accident, just like that they had unfollowed me and that they disassociated externally with them. And I contacted in an outlet where we are still connected. And I'm just like, I was really emotional about it. And I'm just like, I can't, is there something wrong? Is there something going on with this? And they had essentially told me, it's just like, although it might be, totally warranted, you're going after Jeff Volley personally, no matter how stupid and how wrong he is jeopardizing things for me.
Was the form of communication carrier pigeon?
Could be. I love pigeons because I'm a big bird lover. But no. So I said, I'm just like, and I won't get into the personals about it, but we are fine on the back end, but that person won't be able to see my stuff. That person won't, unless I share it to them in a direct message or something.
But let's really unpack what that means. Mm-hmm. So what that means is there's conversation in the company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And people are being asked to side up. Okay. Even if they're not being asked to, it's being assumed. So if people are drawing lines, then that means people within the company know that there's a problem. And that problem's name is Jeff Volley. That is all I heard through all of that was the company admitting that they have a problem named Jeff Volley.
Mm-hmm. And for everyone who doesn't know the actual history here with Jeff, Jeff was in charge of, essentially, he was in charge of engineering for Walt Disney World for a number of years and been with the company for like the last 30 or so. The only reason why he is in his position at all, because normally when you go through this succession thing, it's just like, okay, you end up being the last man standing after they whittled it down and they've come up with the best of the best. Well, because of the pandemic and because of the shutdown of Walt Disney World and everything, and the fact that Josh D'Amaro was in charge of Walt Disney World for all of 5 seconds, and 4 of those seconds they didn't even have a single guest go through before he was catapulted up to his current assignment or current position. The only person that was really on staff, so far as an executive committee at Walt Disney World, was the maintenance manager, which happened to be Jeff. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that he was the last man standing. He was the only man standing. Mm-hmm. And he has these absolutely absurd, narrow-minded, myopic notions of how the resort should operate. And one of those things is that he has an enormous hatred of water.
Right. Well, it's a cost.
And people are like, well, what's wrong with water? Well, water is corrosive. Water takes a lot of maintenance. There's things that you have to do with water. It's just like you can't just fill up a river system. You can't just fill up a pool and be done with it. You have to do all these things to it, and sometimes it breaks down equipment and everything. And and after 30 plus years in the company, he's had it. No more water. No more water. I don't want to do any of that because it takes too much maintenance. Oh, you want to think that through, Jeff? What happens when you don't need any maintenance? All the people that are underneath you don't have a job anymore. You put yourself out of business with that. It's a ridiculous notion. It would just be like, you know what the problem with Walt Disney World is? And I seriously had this when I was in the company. I had new people say this. I had people that were small-minded about it said it's just like, you know what the big problem is with Walt Disney World? It's all the guests. You want to run that by me again? You want to? You think that the problem with Walt Disney World is all of its guests?
I can tell you something. You want to know who feels that way? The maintenance people.
Yeah.
As a former maintenance person.
Yeah.
And I don't mean gardening. As a former ride tech,
mm-hmm.
the hatred and disdain that they had for the guests and for the other departments, particularly operation. I saw it firsthand. We're not going to fix that. That's operations problems. We don't give two shits about the guest experience. Let it sit there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what happens when you eventually get to that point? When you, it's just like when you. So if you hate water and you take all the water out of your theme park, what's going to be a rejuvenating force? I mean, like just the human being around water is a very renewing experience for us. It's a very tranquil one. It's also, like there's enormous medicinal purposes that are associated with it and everything. And Jeff just doesn't want to hear any of that.
Yeah, but that's even way too complicated. Like it's very, mm-hmm. very simple. Okay. There is a function to what existed in Frontierland. There's a function to the river. There's a thematic function. There's a practical function, whatever. So if it's failing you from an operational perspective, you can still do what you have to do and maintain theme.
Mm-hmm.
You can still maintain theme.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, if Jeff Volley said, we're going to get rid of the river, we're going to rip out the island because everybody's tired of maintaining the island. Okay. I'm of the firm believer that he rubber stamps that, but it's not him saying put in cars. That's got to be coming down from Bob Iger at that point.
Well, yeah. So the complicated, it's a little complicated for a lot of people to understand. About 15-ish years ago, I had a friend who was in Imagineering. I have many friends in Imagineering now, but one of them that was just recently in there, and we had worked together for many years when I was working at the Tower of Terror. He had just recently got into Imagineering. We had conversations, and he let me in on how the actual organizational structure works, which is initially, and with the glory days of Eisner in the early 90s, and that you have going all the way down to Walt, where it's just like, okay, so you have the creative executive of the company that thinks, okay, we are going to put this inside of this park. This is what you need for that. And then the park would do it, and then there would be an occasional time period where they talk to the operators of it. They talk to the executives for just say, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. Where are we going to put our break rooms? We're going to need access for this type of thing, because we're going to be the ones that have to live with this. We're going to have to be the ones that work with it. So if you can make certain accommodations here or there, fine. Now, those people are at the front of the line. And the operators, and by operators I mean like whatever it is, if it's the president of Disneyland, that person has the ultimate say for the destiny of that park. If it's Walt Disney World, it's the same thing. If it's the VP of Epcot, the VP of Epcot is very much in control of their own thing with that too. So what that means is that the destiny of the park is being controlled by politicians. Because in order for them to get to that point to become a vice president or president of those divisions, they have to go through an ridiculously absurd, convoluted process of politicking their way up to the top. And even when they first get started, the way that you become a manager at Walt Disney World, unless you're a college program kid that they just go out and they just hire you in for, you have to get the approval of 16 people. You're an own local manager. Everyone has to love you. Well, how do you do that? You only get politicians. You only get spineless people.
Right. You
only get people
can't disrupt anything, and you can't make decisions. You have to basically shake your head and just keep your head down at the same time.
Yeah, exactly, and just make sure to smile about it, and just everything is positive.
But drill down on something.
Yes,
because it's the way I've always kind of seen it is. So the C-suite. Okay, for those who don't know, that's your corporate. Okay, and that's kind of coming down as operations is coming up. So they're going like, oh, well, we made our decision. This is going to happen. And they go, well, now that you've decided that you're going to make this change, we're going to tell you what it's going to look like. Like, in other words, okay, you want to eradicate Tom Sawyer Island? Great. You have 4 or 5 options. We get to make the final call. And we're going to pick the worst of the ones. The one that nobody wants, we're going to pick because that's the one that speaks the corporate line the best. Even though Imagineering had 4 or 5 options on the table, maybe that would have been thematically better choices.
Right.
Would that be a fair assessment?
Well, it's complicated because with each project it can go up and down.
Right.
So and really you're looking at like the basic heads of if you're talking about just Walt Disney World, so Jeff Volley and Josh D'Amaro and Bob Iger have to be on the same page. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but just keep it simple. They all have to agree on something
at some point.
Yeah, exactly. At some point. And so what they will do, so how this actually went down in this particular situation is that Bob Iger wants to put in as much IPs inside the park as possible. Very broad strokes, which is what most CEOs do. Broad strokes. Want more IP into park. And I found out something horrible about that too, because I'm always against that. But recently. So he wanted to put the IP in the park. Josh D'Amaro is enamored with the Cars Land concept and how it saved California Adventure. So that would really shore up the Magic Kingdom. So he says to Jeff, we need to put the cars inside the Magic Kingdom. And then Jeff gets to decide how it gets put into the Magic Kingdom. So he could have chose to put it over at the Raceway. He could have chose 15 or 20 different options.
But he already knew he had a problem over here, so he...
Yeah, because what it was is that they, and really it's the simplest things, and it's just like, okay, yeah, well, we were having some infrastructural problems with the river. We needed to replace the boiler for the steamboat. We needed to reseal the river, and we also needed to get some sort of ADA compliance for Tom Sawyer Island.
And the island
and
sinking.
We don't. Yeah. So,
but here's what you just hit on, because it's like, it's wild to me because you have a problem to solve, fine, and you have in your head that, oh, cars, we need cars. But like, the proper leadership could have solved the Tom Sawyer Island problem and not messed with injecting cars into Frontierland. Like you said, Tomorrowland Speedway, you could talk about the thematic issues, but at least there's a car ride there. That makes sense. Okay. But because they're not approaching it from theme, and they're approaching it sort of from two ends of the spectrum meeting in the middle, and just trying to get to an agreement, there's no leadership. It's just, what's everybody cool with? And that is exactly what happened with Muppet Vision, with Muppet Courtyard, and Monsters Inc. Because they didn't know if it was going to go Animation Courtyard, or they were going to get rid of Muppets. I mean, they were literally down to the wire on, are we going to tear down the Muppets, or are we going to keep that? And we're going to, that's not how you're supposed to be building these parks. So what you just described there is exactly the struggle that happened over in Hollywood studios. And it's just amazing to me that this is how they're running this operation. It's unconscious.
Yeah, and there is no sentient thought that is associated with it, and most of the time, it's just like, okay, look, once this is going out and everything, like Jeff's going to be gone, Bob's going to be gone, Josh is either going to be promoted to CEO or he's going to be out, so it doesn't really matter with that. This also goes into something that is like when I was talking about like when I was fully enraged with the fact that Trump spoke up for Cracker Barrel but won't speak up for the Magic Kingdom, or for that matter anything else that's really important, is that so far as cultural and branding concerns, that
work on violence,
just yeah, but so you have this situation where you'll speak up for that, but you won't speak up for the Magic Kingdom situation with that, and it was just something that I still don't understand why that decision making occurs with that, because I'm like, okay, this is something that people legitimately care about. They care about where they're going on vacation. They don't care about what's going on in another part of it.
Disney's too niche. Even though Disney's the biggest entertainment company in the world, going to the Disney parks is a niche. It's not the same thing as watching a movie.
Yeah, but the other thing that people would say about this too is that they would raise the objections with me about it, just saying, "Well, I don't want the government getting involved with something like this with a private company." And I'm like, well, for one thing, it's not a private company; it's a publicly traded company. You have all of these things that are, excuse me, you have all of these things like please spare me your 20th century perceptions of how things go. Because this is not the world that we are living in right now, okay? Right. Our entire corporate structure is broken. Absolutely, fundamentally broken in this country, or for that matter, even for the free market world. Because no one has any liability or responsibility for it. They don't have an obligation to continue these things beyond that. They don't look at themselves as stewards anymore. They basically, at least the way that they function, it might not be the way that they say, well, no, I actually have a good heart. And you function as if I'm going to milk this for all of its worth while I'm here, and I don't give a damn what's going to happen later on with it.
It's fear-based decision making, and it's that short-term versus long-term. And I love the way you said it. I always say short-term versus long-term. How did you say it? Short-term
profits equal long-term liabilities.
And the funny thing to me is JD Vance went to Disneyland, like right around that time. And I was like, wow, you got so close to like the thing, but it doesn't resonate. And again, it's too niche. So I think the reason that the Cracker Barrel thing cut through is because it definitively stands for something. Like whether you go to Cracker Barrel or not, it stands for something. It may not stand for much, but it stands for something. Disney has to. If it doesn't mean anything to you, then those Disney adults. So who's going to weigh in on that? Unless it was the Disney, when they weighed in the whole gay thing, and I'm sure I'll get shit for calling it the whole gay thing. But it's just sort of like in this Americana issue, like, because I do think that Disney wants to get rid of, Disney wants to strip the Americana out of their parks. That is apparent to me. I don't know if it's a conscious edict to do so, or if it is a byproduct of this sort of churn thing that we're talking about, this sort of low quality, higher perception of value thing. And if it just becomes a byproduct of that or not, where it's just sort of like, America's a little too polarizing, people don't relate to it the same way anymore. It doesn't have, Americana is not a widespread appreciated idea, which is nuts. Okay. So maybe It's just easier to make everything Mickey-fied, which doesn't have any legs.
No. Well, see, this is the thing, though. It's just like, and yeah, I get that, and you can see that kind of false perception that they've based their new business model on. The reason why, and this is something that, calling back to earlier, is that I'm trying to figure out how to articulate, just like, because the reason why we love certain things that are inside the parks is not because Walt loved them.
Right.
We love them because of the principles that Walt loved them for. We don't love Americana because Walt loved Americana.
No, because it resonated.
We love Americana, period.
It resonated.
Yes, because we want to be, like, we have an amazing history in this country. We have an amazing legacy as Americans that we should feel obligated to continue and go even higher for. That's the reason why you go to a Disney park. And people just say, Josh, but I don't think that people think of that way. Like, yeah, you don't right now consciously, but subconsciously it resonates with you. You just don't articulate it. And then, the whole entire thing, and I think that the whole entire concept of normies is a curse word, because I'm just like, no. That separates you from everyone else.
What's normal?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, and not only that, but what they're saying when they say normie, they're saying just like the casual observer, the stupid, the rube, the newbie, the person that doesn't really care about all of these high-minded ideals that you have, Joshua. You say, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
But the problem with that is, it's just like, but no, because I have people in my life, just like that are not in any way connected to this, and just like, I don't know, that just seems kind of wrong to me that they're doing X, Y, Z over here. But that's all that they say. And if that's all that you say is just like, well, I just don't like what they're doing. Well, then I don't care about what you like or I like or anything. I don't care about even what I like. I'm just like, no, give me an actual fundamental principle. Give me an intelligent, articulate way to describe, look, this is the reason why what you're doing is stupid. Okay, and this is what's going to happen if you go down this road. This is what's going. That's what I'm most interested in with that one. But the contrast between the newbie and what I do, or what anybody that focuses any amount of effort on a localized issue, is that my job as a philosopher is to get you to think clearly about an issue, is to give you the talking points that you need to be able to say, no, we're going to take this from like, I don't like it, and I don't know why I like it. Well, let me tell you why that you don't like it. The reasons why, from a psychological perspective, from an economic perspective, from all of these other different levels that you can go with analysis.
But again, Joshua, I mean, it's like college professor level. I love it. I could talk this shit with you all day long. But like the average human being has been so dumbed down, and I think particularly post-pandemic, we have become willingly stupefied.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you're talking business philosophy, business principles to consumers who.
But here's the problem, though. But here's the thing, though. It doesn't matter that I come up with the articulation and that you're able to go ahead and express it with the talking points that I give you. Because if I say something or I say nothing, the result is still the same. You're not going to go to a riverless magic kingdom. Now, you don't know why you're not going to do that.
Right.
You're just going to say, oh, it's too busy.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, like, to go back to speaking to the wrong people, and I'm not indicting you, right? Because you and I both felt the same way. But it's like, and I think you and I felt the same frustration with the Cracker Barrel thing. You're like, how does this break through?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, I think that most people don't understand what Walt set out to accomplish. All right, the average Disney consumer is not a fan of Walt. They're not. They don't practice. I shouldn't say practice because it's not an ideology, but they don't understand the principles. Okay,
right.
So Disney for them, whether it's Mickey or Elsa, whatever it may be. So you're not going to get people to understand the mission statement. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Either you get the mission statement of what a Disney park is, or you don't. Right. And these are bad business decisions that are being made that won't overtly affect people, but what you're saying about their habits and like the way this will play out is spot on. And the reason it's spot on is because Disney has the data. Like Disney knows their customers better than anybody else. That's why this is all like we've talked about, like how conscious of a decision is it? We know that they want to get rid of their average customer. They want to get rid of the Disney adult. Okay. They want to trade out the Disney adult for a churn-based consumer. You're going to spend some time over at Universal. You're going to come over here, whatever. So that's what they want now, which throws out all the goodwill that the founder gave the company. Everything that separated a Disney park from a Six Flags goes out the window. So then you're only Disney in name. And that is a ticking time bomb. Right.
Yeah, and there's a couple of dynamics that are associated with that, and the one of them is just like, okay, well, fine, if you're going to if you're going to say that you don't want to have the Disney adult and then everything, well, your entire business model entirely is dependent upon repeat visitors. You can't go through
in Disney World. We're talking about. Well, really both everywhere, but yes,
everywhere around the world.
Different style repeat visit.
None of these parks globally, even in China, which I don't acknowledge, but even those, they don't even. It's a whole thing.
You don't acknowledge China or the China parks.
The China parks. The China parks.
No. I really wanted you to say you don't acknowledge China, because that would have been an amazing hour.
No. No, I could talk about them. It's interesting. We're never going to decouple. I've just found out some really interesting things. But anyway,
we'll get to China.
So even if you wanted to do that, and just like, okay, so if your goal was, okay, fine, so we're only going to do like one visit per lifetime,
right,
or one visit per, or two visits per lifetime, which is extraordinarily low. I'm like, yeah, you're going to be out of business very soon. Very, very, very soon, because you're going to have, like, we're in a country of, what is it now, 350 or something like 350 million or something like that. You have a large swath of people that are that have no interest in going inside of a theme park, even in the most optimal of phases. And then you have other people that can't afford it, and then you have other segments of them that can't go for different reasons or another. So you're only going to get a fractional percentage of people to go in for that one time only. You're not going to be able to support your business with that. And the thing that kind of gets me about it too is that you're creating all of these ridiculous DVC, trap you for 40 years, hotels. And I'm just like, you have no idea the kind of horrible crap that is going to happen from this. Do you realize what's going to happen when the Disney parks are truly Disney in name only, and I've bought into a DVC location and I actually have ownership over this thing that you've completely dismantled? Do you know how many lawsuits that you're going to have? Do you know how much? I mean, like Chapter 11 times 50,000. I mean, you're setting yourself up for enormous financial disaster.
That's that short term versus that long term.
Yeah, because they don't care, because our entire country is run by what was it? Oh, good God, the septuagenarians who don't care about the next generation. You have people that are forgive me. There are certain people that are good. So anyone that's listening, I'm not talking about your specific grandmother or parent.
He is.
But in general,
no, he's talking about grandma.
In general, the boomers are the worst generation. I mean, the absolute most selfish people, most myopic thinking. I'm all about me. I don't give a shit about anybody else that happens and everything. And exactly. And I'm just saying, and it's absolutely deplorable. They have completely screwed us over in every single way possible. with death, with everything else. And meanwhile, they complain that it's just like, okay, well, you're not going out and you're not putting out the effort and you're not doing this or that for it. And why aren't you getting a better job here? And I'm like, well, have you seen the job market? I don't really care about that. Don't give me your excuses. Why aren't you doing it? I'm like, well, if you look at the math of the situation and the reason why I can't get why I can't be upwardly mobile in my job is because you are not retiring, and the reason why the boomers are not retiring is because they made their work their life, and if they go home to their spouse, very much like what Bob Iger did, and you have no relationship with that person, and you end up living with a stranger, which is hell on earth for you. So you will go back into the office, and it won't give any opportunities to anybody else, and you will continue to destroy your organizations all the way through.
I just want
how lovely a situation.
I want to just because you touched briefly on Willow Bay, and which is not a resort destination. It's Bob Iger's wife, and he, you would know this if you read the book. He has at least a solid page about what a fantastic husband he is, waking up in the morning at 4 a.m. to warm the milk for her coffee.
Uh-huh.
That was that's it. I have nothing further to add, Your Honor. I just wanted to...
Oh, well, you know what?
In the spirit of people reading the book to you, I wanted to make sure...
Yes, okay, fine. Well, here's the thing about that, because I actually... I'm retired from this, although I'm coming back into it and I'm loving it. I used to be an unlicensed couples counselor.
Okay.
I absolutely love it, and I've had actual psychologists and psychologists say that my observations and my prescriptions for people are spot on. I've studied a lot of psychology with it and everything. I absolutely love doing couples counseling and everything. The person who would say that is the person that you would least trust, because if you say so much as a single sentence about how great a husband you are, I know that you're a complete jerk to your wife.
Who puts that in a book?
Especially one that's about business.
Okay, but also, I drink a lot of coffee. Okay, what time is he making this warm milk? I don't even use. I mean, if I'm making an espresso, this is one thing. Well, what time is he making this warm milk? And what time is she getting up? Is she reheating the milk? Is it sitting on the counter and getting tepid? It didn't add up to me. Because it's not going to be warm by the time she wakes up. So are you even really doing this, or did you just make this fiction up for your book?
Yeah, and it's just like the whole entire thing, like the happiest couples are the ones that don't share anything about how wonderful their marriage is on Instagram.
Yeah,
it's the ones that say on there, it's just like that they have their undying love for the person and everything. I'm just like, and here's the thing, just as face value, I'm like, if you really love this person, you would tell them it to their face and don't tell a single person else.
Yeah.
You would be like, you're right there with them, and honey, I love you, and these are the reasons why I love you. The end. I'm not going to put it on a frickin' Facebook post. I'm not going to say it's just like, oh yes, we're so united with our soulmateness and everything. Like, no, you're not going to do that. Like, and here's the thing too. It's just like, you want to know, like, the best couples in the world. The best couples don't even wish each other the happy birthday on Facebook. They're like, I don't care about that. I'm giving you a gift. I'm giving you dinner.
Why do I need the world to see? I don't need that validation.
Yeah. You're the one who needs to know that as the other person.
You're you're like entering full like Baptist preacher mode here. I can see it too. Like there's a you could probably do that really well.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, not Baptist, but definitely something else. But,
you like, because you're preaching, and I like it. But you look, I appreciate the way that you approach the things that you have to say. Right? I appreciate that you come at things from like a genuinely intellectual perspective. The average consumer calls that nerdy, right? I appreciate it, especially like on a site like Twitter where there's like a lot of faux intellectual curiosity. So I appreciate that even though the fate of Disney World isn't the most important issue in the world, that you can make a really solid point. Like, I appreciate that. Now, I know it comes with all the haters and the disdain, and that people are always going to look at an opportunity, and it's not worth giving people the energy. But for anybody to not understand the business side of what you're saying, or to somehow suggest that you're ineffective. And maybe you're ineffective because the people that you're preaching to are, to use my best Italian, are stungats. But I don't think the problem is really what you're saying. And I feel the frustration because I tried to support you the best I could in my little world with the Save the Magic Kingdom thing. I don't jump on all these bandwagons, even with Muppet Vision, and there's probably very few people in the world that are as passionate about Jim Henson as I am. Okay? So, I'm really, really disheartened that they got rid of Muppet Vision, but I didn't choose that fight because I didn't think that was a fight that made sense. But the fight over Rivers of America is a business. It's a business fight.
And also, it's the most unique thing that has ever happened to a theme park atmosphere. I mean, there has never been any event in the entirety of the 70-plus year history of this enterprise where you have radically changed the DNA of your business in the way in which they're doing it now.
But the problem is you got people yelling, "Save dinosaurs, save Muppet Vision, save this, save that," and I'm like,
right?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
This now waters down the real point.
Exactly, and that's the problem. And I really, when you're talking about something like Muppet Vision, and you're talking about Splash Mountain and everything, I always say to people, I'm the defense attorney for these places. I'm not the person. I have a complete detachment from it. If you love Muppets, that's wonderful, and we all have our things. But here's the thing, though. The reason why I'm the defense attorney for all these things that I don't care about myself personally is because I know that they have cultural value, because I know that they mean something to other people, and I know that what you are replacing it with is crap.
Right, but it devalues the good fight.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and that's the thing too. And really, this was something that was enormously eye-opening. I did listen to the Lou Mongello interview with Bruce Vaughan, and there were a couple of things that were good, but most of the things that he said that I found deeply troubling, because for one thing, he did bring up the incident that happened with Disneyland, where they moved a popcorn cart from one place to another temporarily, and everyone was in an uproar with that. So it ends up being that it's just like, okay, well, I can't take these fans seriously because they just yell and scream at everything, which is a very low-resolution way of looking at anything, really. And really, he is... Bruce Vaughan and anybody else who uses that excuse is giving themselves a cop out, and it's a disingenuous way of looking at it, because that was an overreaction, that was stupid, and that what you're doing right now has nothing to do with that scenario. You consciously know that. I know that you're intelligent enough to know that there's a difference between a public outcry for a popcorn cart to a public outcry for something like, let's pick something a little bit more benign, like Great Movie Ride or Mr. Toad or whatever it is else. I'm like, yeah, well, you do understand, Bruce, that there is a difference between those two things. You know that is.
By the way,
you're using that as a cop out.
I tried to watch the Bruce Vaughan video. Got halfway through it. I was watching a Bruce Flanch video the whole time. I'm never going to get that 30 minutes back. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, people spell check your metadata.
Yeah.
No, I was like, this is the guy running Imagineering? Now I understand. I was watching the wrong video. Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, but so there was that one, and then there was the other thing that I found out that was disturbing. He kind of fancies himself the Nicholas Meyer of Imagineering. And what I mean by that is that if anybody who's ever known anything about Star Trek, is that the entire Enterprise, Enterprise, not
no
the
pun
ship,
intended,
but the no pun intended, the entire enterprise of the franchise for Star Trek was on the ropes after they created Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which people call Star Trek: The Slow Motion Picture.
I love the story about that movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fascinating story. Still not one of my favorites, but yeah, exactly. Eisner and Paramount.
Have you ever read Keys to the Kingdom?
Yeah. So
You've
it's
read
just like
that
it's
one?
amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
So
For anyone that doesn't know, I'm obsessed. I've written. I did not write the book. I've read the book 4 or 5 times. Kim Masters wrote the book, but it is the best. It charts Michael Eisner's rise and fall, for lack of a better word. But it is the ultimate read for any Disney park enthusiast.
yeah, it's really good. So as part of that, like Star Trek's on the ropes, they do the motion picture, which the nickname for that is the slow motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
Way too intellectual. The production design was kind of crap too. But then Nicholas Meyer, who doesn't care at all about Star Trek, comes into Star Trek, and he has know nothing about it, and then he comes up with this premise in his head, really, that is just like, okay, this Star Trek thing, because he watches the old episodes with Captain Kirk and everything. He's just like, this is kind of like Captain Horatio Hornblower. So he creates this whole entire very, very nautical-esque overlay that's associated with Star Trek, where they do things like they have militaristic funerals, and they have whistles, and they have these costumes which were redone, which were these fabulous burgundy things. I still would love to have one of those as a jacket, but he does all of this stuff for it, and he goes and he really saves it with the Wrath of Khan, because the Wrath of Khan is very Star Trek, but also very not Star Trek. And the reason why he can do that is because he didn't have overt reverence for the intellectual nature that was infused in there by Gene Roddenberry, which is actually what was killing it with the original film.
Which one did Nimoy direct?
He directed the the Voyage Home, the one with the whales.
The third one?
No, no, he did 2 of them. Sorry.
Yeah.
So he did Search for Spock, so Search for himself, and then he also did Voyage Home, which was the one with the whales. Side note: my favorite of all of the Star Trek movies is Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country. It's the most perfect Star Trek movie ever. Don't at me, people.
Can I hit you with a quick trivia question?
Yeah.
Who was responsible for the Star Trek television show being produced?
Oh, it was Lucy Arnaz. Yeah, this is Lucy and Desi. Yeah, exactly.
I figured you knew the answer.
I love that.
Most people
yeah,
wouldn't
exactly.
know
that. Yeah.
Desi Lou.
So getting back to what Bruce Vaughn thinks
Bruce
he's the Nicholas Meyer of Imagineering. But here's the problem with your little analogy, Bruce. In order to do that, you actually have to have a Wrath of Khan underneath your belt. And you don't. Nothing that you've done in your tenure with this has been that way.
What do you think he thinks is his Wrath of Khan? That's the question.
That's a good question. He probably thinks it's Rise of the Resistance. But
I was going to say the Star Wars Hotel.
That would be funny. No, that was Chapek. So what he does with it, though, is that and the reason why he says that, he doesn't care about it and everything, because he was 27 years old when he went into a Disney theme park for the first time. 27 years old. Now, look, I'm not going to fault you if you have some sort of like your family was destitute, you couldn't go into it, whatever it is and everything. But here he is, he's going into Imagineering, and they talk about in this a whole podcast about it, just like, yeah, they asked me what my favorite attraction was, and I couldn't tell them because I'd never been before, and then they put me on a plane and they put me down to Orlando to go and do this. So I'm like, and he's doing it, I think it was in like 1992 or 3, somewhere around there. Which is, again, the most amazing period in Walt Disney World history. But still, I'm like, if you're introduced to this brand at 27 years old, this is not the way that you're not going to come away with this well. It's almost like the whole entire, like Star Wars Padawan thing. I'm like, you're way, way, way too old to appreciate this. You're way too old for. And also, he would look at it, and he thought that certain things were interesting, but as part of that interview, he pathologizes Disney park guests by saying that, well, we understand that everyone has their rituals that they want to do, and they come back in and they expect certain things, and then we change them, and they get upset about it. But we understand that it's a ritual. We understand. I'm like, we are not ancient tribes in Africa that are going on hero quests here.
Far more toxic of a group.
Yeah. No, yeah. So we go there because we like the thing that you made, and we want to see more of that thing.
But it's
And
but it's nostalgia. It's just it's
yeah,
look, you and I
yeah.
we
And he
can
doesn't
parse it out all
understand
day
that.
long. It's
Yeah,
nostalgia. And the thing, if you need to, because everybody's fear-based decision makers in today's corporate culture. So if you need data to look at the birthday cake. Okay? People showed up to take a picture in front of a castle with their grandparents, with their children, with the whole family. And the iconic, and now it didn't matter that it's not like a different coat of paint. It was a completely different castle. I mean, it was a wrapped
totally
around,
covered it.
right.
Totally covered.
So that is proof right there that people have an expectation to come to a place that feels timeless, that gets passed down from generation to generation. Yes, rides change. Absolutely. But the essence, the very essence of the park is Liberty Square. Okay? And when you start to tear at the heart of the park, then it's like ripping the pit out of a piece of fruit. You know what I mean? It's like taking the nucleus out of an atom. So it is the pulse. And you can go look at I'm not telling you this, I'm telling them this. Go look at the earliest marketing. It's Glenn Campbell talking about Liberty Square as the heart and soul of Walt Disney World. I mean, it was literally built with these principles. It's not the same thing as Muppet Vision. And I adore Jim Henson. By the way, I was there the day that Jim Henson and Michael Eisner did that deal. I have the photo. I met Jim Henson as a little kid. I mean, I'm as close to him as I am to you, probably literally. But I was there. And I cherished that photo my entire life. I cherished the moment that I got to see Jim Henson, my childhood hero, watch him walk into that park as a little kid, not knowing that, 9 months later he would be gone. So I am somebody that has and I was an intern at the Muppets on the east side of Manhattan. I worked in the Muppet Mansion. I worked with the woman that built the Kermits for Muppets Take Manhattan. I heard the stories about Jim and Brian. I mean, I could tell you stories. I don't even want to right now because I don't want to tarnish the man, but I can tell you stories, okay? Mm-hmm. And so I have a huge reverence for Jim Henson and the Muppets. Massive. But I wasn't going to fight to save Muppet Vision. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't the fight. The rivers of America and ripping out Liberty Square and ultimately Hall of Presidents and ripping out all that Americana, that trickles all the way down Main Street. All the way down Main Street.
And also, you want to talk about, because we're all about this today, the optics of the situation. So your optics are that you are taking out most of American history, because it's not just Liberty Square, which is the most important, but you're also talking about Frontierland. You're talking about all the other extraneous things. I'm just saying, so you're actually taking out the Americanness of this enormously American enterprise. Did you not think it for 5 seconds that would be a bad idea? And talking about with Muppets and everything, I'm just saying, I was when I was their defense attorney about this, I'm like, this is important. This is something that should be protected. This is something that should be at least transposed. I think that they could use the Sunset Showcase. They could put it in there. They're not going to do that, but they could.
They should have had an exit strategy.
Yeah, they should have had that. Yeah, and I'm like, there are ways of reinvigorating these things too. Because here's the thing about it. It's just like when you see, it's just like, oh yeah, well, this attraction over here we see on the spreadsheet here. Yeah, that one is experiencing. They're only getting 60% of the gate on there when we really want it to be 85% of the gate. Yeah. Well, you know what you do with that? You go ahead and you refresh it. You go ahead and you spice it up, and then you put marketing. Hey, marketing. Use marketing.
And you want to know why your example is accurate, but also BS at the same time? Is because if they wanted to honor those metrics, like if they really, if they weren't just using those as an excuse, they'd look at Launch Bay and they'd go, well, this is a much deeper problem to solve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's all about, again, fear-based decision.
Yeah, well,
making.
yeah,
Use the numbers.
Yeah, because they're always using the statistics in one way or the other to go ahead and prove their point about it. So they're
But
not really being truly objective about it. So
look, we're talking so much Disney, and I want to get to some politics before we wrap up.
sure, yeah.
So
Yeah.
last Disney thought here, just in
Okay.
the spirit of all this, because I when we talk about picking and choosing battles,
Mhm.
there is one other attraction that I would go over the top for, and that's Carousel of Progress.
Right.
And that is because the 64-65 World's Fair is just a huge part of this country's history. It's a huge part of Disney Parks history. I don't need to tell you this. So
Mhm.
that's just one of those other ones for me. They announced today at D23 that they're adding a Walt animatronic to the front of Carousel of Progress.
Right. Which I have problems with that anyway, because they don't really. This is enormously disrespectful for them to do this to him. I'm just like this would be against his wishes. The whole entire aspect of putting it. Look, there's only one. Well, there is actually two. So here's the thing. So there are only two examples that I would give where I would approve of a completely 100% perfect, flawless depiction of Walt Disney as an animatronic. One of them is actually in the Carousel of Progress, because I think that because I've done enormous historical studies and everything. The for people who don't realize this, the Carousel of Progress, the version that we have now, is the worst version imaginable of that attraction. It is an amazing attraction. Just the Carousel Theater alone, the fact that it can hold nearly 4,000 people an hour. I'm like, it has the highest capacity of any Disney theme park. Yeah, and it still moves, and it just is amazing. But we have the worst version of this on several different levels, and people still love it, which says to the testament of the original. But the thing about that is that they originally had a kaleidophonic organ, which was this. For modern speak, it's kind of like a visualization thing where they had lights that would go off with the sounds and everything. So it was like a visualizer type of thing, but in the 1960s. So you could put Walt in front of that, and then they could part ways and do amazing things and everything. And Walt could actually be there at the Carousel Theater, and he would be able to introduce the attraction for you. I have this whole entire concept in my head about. I don't typically engage in arm shot Imagineering, but I would love to be able to spearhead a new version of this attraction. I would love to do it completely redo it, but with the same exact spirit. I'd like it to start in 1980s. You can have because that way it's very nostalgic for everybody there, and then go through all the way, and then have the first two acts being past, but then the last two acts be in the future. So it would go to 2064 at the 100th birthday
I'm fine with that.
Carousel of Progress and everything. And not only that, but I would also look, hey, Bruce Vaughn, I know that you love to spend massive amounts of money on your ridiculous tech that goes nowhere. Here's something that you can do that would be fun. Figure out how to make audio animatronics walk autonomously. Because wouldn't it be amazingly cool to see John, father, in Carousel of Progress be like a living actor, but be animatronic and walk around the stage?
Can't you just
the
get
entire
some
way
of
through?
Elon's Tesla bots for that?
Yeah, so I'm like that would be, and think about how enthralling that would be as an audience member. And then you would go down to and then after the finale, you would reinstate the version that was in the 67 version and a little bit in the original one. When I found this out as a historian, my mind just blew, is that at the end of the Carousel Theater, as we do now, it's very anticlimactic. I mean, you get up off your seat and you go out the doors that you came back in. Big deal. In the 64 and 67 version, at the end of it, you go onto the stage.
No way.
And you go up a ramp into the second floor of the attraction. And this whole entire stage that you went onto had amazing lighting effects and everything. It still would look super cool today. And then you would go up the ramp, and then On the 67 version, which was the Disneyland version, you saw the Progress City model show. So it's the same Progress City model that you have that you can see on the Transportation Ticket Center, the TTA People Mover. But they cut it down, so it's just the centermost part of it. It was an enormous model, and the reason why it was really cool when it was an enormous model is that you get a sense of scale, so you weren't like right next to the high-rise hotel. It looked like it was like 2 or 3 times bigger than it actually is. And then you saw the entire show, and then you went out of that. So that was the whole entire finale act. Well, you do that again with this attraction, where you have a brand new version of the thing. Do it with projection mapping and with fiber optics, and truly amazing show.